Hey, in the immortal words of Judy Brown, happiness is a choice. And we're happy you're spending some time with us. Chip and Zay off the rails on a Thursday. We got all kinds of stuff for you. We got Lions and Cowboys. We got Steve Sarkisian saying, yeah, we're not going to get rid of those home games against Ohio State and Michigan. You know what I mean? You know what I mean, Zay?
Yeah, got to keep those games. Just win more games. That's the easy solution. Win more games. But
win more games.
Feeling good, feeling great. Happy Thursday, everybody. Chip, how you doing?
Oh, man. Let's go.
You ready for tonight?
Let's go. Let's do it. Let's rock and roll.
Yeah, got the Lions hat on.
This is pretty much the end. Pretty much the end of the road for the Lions tonight if they don't get it done, you know?
Come on, man. Don't say that.
Those Bears are trying to run away and hide. You know what I'm saying?
This is 9-3.
How they doing that? How they doing that?
I mean, this is a good year to have a fourth place schedule. That's for sure. This is a good year. Ben Johnson. Hey, it's ironic, isn't it, that your offensive coordinator leaves, goes to the Bears, a rival. They're 9-3. Y'all lose y'all's offensive coordinator, obviously. Hasn't looked the greatest. It's tough. That's tough. That's seriously some Lion stuff right there. That y'all don't deserve, Chip. Y'all don't deserve it. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry, because that's cold-blooded. Like, if my coordinator left to go to the rival and had success in year one, man, I don't know what I'd do with myself. You know?
Michael, let's go, baby. Come on. Let's go. It is time. Look, Cowboys getting stuff done. Happy for them. Just can't happen tonight. Just can't happen tonight. Can happen any other time. Just not tonight. Because if it happens tonight, it could be curtains for my Lions playoff chances. Can't be losing no more home games. We're going to have Drew Fabianich, Executive Director of the Senior Bowl, on at 3. Lance Taylor will join us at 3:30, Zay. So maybe at 2:30, we do a little chip shot and right call so that we can do our thing with Lance. But I got to get you a little fired up about Texas basketball, because what we saw last night, that was a straight beatdown. That was like Puff Daddy taking some women out.
Whoa!
Just beating them down.
What?
Have you not seen this docuseries on
The
Netflix?
50 Cent one?
It just came out.
Did you see it? That's the one that 50 Cent's a part of.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm in the first episode, and it's already off the
episodes. I thought it was just like a movie.
It's a 4-part series.
Wow, 50. Wow, 50. Yeah. You don't know 50 Cent. He hates Puffy. Can't stand the dude. And 50 makes good work. As a producer, 50's one of the best producers in Hollywood. I stand on that. I've seen all those Power series that he has on Stars. That's good TV. Like, I know a lot of people don't have Stars, but all those Powers and spinoffs and stuff, that's good TV. 50 Cent, that's a brilliant mind right there. So I know he put all his hate and all his passion into this. So, damn, now you got to – I got to watch it now. Right after Texas women play tonight, I'm cracking that on because –
Oh, yeah. I mean, it is the story of drunken ambition, reckless power, jealousy, ego. Puffy getting all jealous of Tupac and Biggie's friendship and then systematically destroying it to the point where they both get killed.
Oh man.
I mean, he started the riff. And Suge was like, okay. Now, there's that new book out by Perlman about Tupac. And he basically says Tupac just picked the wrong night to pick a fight with a gang member who settles things with bullets, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But, oh man, Puffy, he's a mess.
Oh, to say the least.
He is a world-class mess.
Which is so sad because I can't listen to Biggie like I used to. I can't listen to 112. That's some of the best R&B, Peaches and Cream. And then that's fifth. That's Diddy. He found those guys. They were part of Bad Boy. Craig Mack, Faith Evans, Biggie's ex-wife, like just all those legends. You can't listen to them the same just because my man Diddy ruined it for everybody.
Sad.
Yeah. But yeah, Texas basketball. It was rough last night. It was rough last night. Yeah, the defense was awful. First off, let's fast forward to after the game. Before we break down the game, let's fast forward to after the game. Jordan Pope, Dalen Swain, they talked to the media. Jordan Pope apologizes after the game, apologizes to the Texas fans about just putting up a disappointing, embarrassing performance. And then Sean Miller comes up and he speaks. So Jordan Pope, he's the leader on the team. I say that in air quotes. He's the leader. For him to say that, that's leadership stuff. Yeah, I'm doing my head like that. Like, if someone has to be the leader, I guess it's him, which ain't great. No offense to Jordan Pope. Like, good for him. Somebody has to try. Hell, Chris Paul just got kicked off the Clippers for trying to be a leader. So what's a leader nowadays? Which we'll get to that during the right call because, wow. But they're not on the same page. What Sean Miller is telling the team and what the team is taking in, clearly there's a disconnect because there was one question asked where Jordan Pope was like, yeah, I think tonight, we weren't hitting our shots, so then we lacked effort defensively. Then Sean Miller comes up and says, he was asked about that. What do you think about Jordan Pope saying that? He goes, I disagree. I think it's the opposite of what Jordan's trying to say. I think we were getting killed on defense so bad that we were trying to force shots to get it all back in one possession instead of taking it one possession. And understanding you have to get a stop, score, get a stop, score. But you have to be locked into every possession. So I don't like hearing that. People might think, oh, Zay, you're bugging. You're looking too much into it. I don't think I am. That's not seeing eye to eye. That's because one thing I admire about Steve Sarkisian, he says it all the time. He says, I love when I hear my players talk because they're saying the same things that I'm saying. You're out here, Sean Miller. I would have just agreed with Jordan Pope just to make the media chill. And then I would have took Jordan behind the scenes and be like, hey, man, I know you said this. I said this in the media because I didn't want any backlash or anybody look into it. And again, I'm a sociopath, so I might be the only one that's actually looking into it. But I know this shit like that. Like if a player says, oh, I think since we weren't hitting our shots, we defensively weren't putting out the energy. And then the coach minutes later comes in and says, no, he's wrong. Our quote unquote leader. Really, we were just getting killed defensively. And then it forced us to force shots offensively. So it's like, damn, man, y'all really are not on the same page there. And as far as the court goes, let's give Virginia some credit. Ryan Odom, they got some guys.
They got a team.
They got a team, which is confusing because people are going to say it's year one for Sean Miller. It's year one for Ryan Odom. So it's year one for Ryan Odom. He has way less resources than Sean Miller does. Way less. Way less. I know Virginia's won a national championship, and that's why when they were in the search of hiring a new coach, I fought for Tony Bennett, even though we don't like his style. Y'all don't like winning? Winning's a style to me. It might be slow pace, but Tony Bennett, he's sitting up in the penthouse somewhere, wherever the hell he is, sitting on a ring. How many coaches have done that? Rick Barnes still fighting for that one ring. So, yeah, Virginia, the fact that he won there is incredible because, yeah, they like basketball, but come on, man. Ryan Odom has way less resources than Sean Miller does. Yet he was able to go find that 22-year-old freshman out of Europe De Ritter, who's a problem, who's physical, who
looks like Drago.
Yeah, man. You kidding me? He goes out and finds Gerlo, who gave Matthysse problems last night.
Gerlo was like, he looked like a mini Chet Holmgren out there.
That dude, solid. Matthysse is in such bad shape. He has to get in better shape, man. He has to. It's just, we got 7 minutes left in the first half, Chip. He's calling for a sub. He's huffing and puffing. I'm over here like, damn, man, you already got a breather. Are you sick? Like, are y'all, like, how hard y'all party in Hawaii? Like, Sean Miller said they had some hard practices. How hard were they going? Were they running the stairs at DKR? Because for him to be that fatigued after having a week off, that's not good. We're not even in SEC play yet.
He might be sick.
Yeah, he's just huffing and puffing, which you see what he shot from the free throw line. Like,
oh, my God.
Awful, because he's exhausted. And then Ryan Odom being a good coach, oh, look at that big 7-footer huffing and puffing. Hey, pick and roll, involve him every play. Every play. Let's get him all pick and roll and make him play D while he's dead tired. And anything that he did, Virginia, they had something for. He kept playing that drop coverage, meaning when his man goes to set that on-ball screen, he is waiting in the paint area. He's like 5 feet back. So the person who's guarding the ball, who has to fight over the screen, they have to choose, do I go over the top because they're good shooters, which is going to force them to drive, or do I go under and make myself vulnerable for the three-point shot? Either way, Matthysse ain't helping me. Until, which if you have smart offensive players, until he has to, which the guards for Virginia, they kept driving all the way into Matthysse. It becomes a double team. They kick it out to the shooter. Gerlo either has the shot, which he hit a few times, or he swings it. And they get another pat. They get another shot. Yeah, it's just great basketball. It's very simple. And there's nothing complex about it. It's take what the defense gives you. That's all Virginia did. They had something for everything. So after they hit Matthysse a few times for that drop coverage, Sean Miller, let's make an adjustment. Let's hedge. Let's hedge, which means Matthysse, I'm going to step out. The guy comes off the screen. He's going to see me, my 7-foot frame. I'm going to be that wall that he runs into, and he's going to have to improvise from there. Man, the dude just rolled to the basket, hit him on the pick and roll. Nobody stepped up. No, where's the help?
Yeah, there was dunks to be had.
Just dunks. And then 3-point shots, then more dunks. And you're just wondering, guys, does anybody have any pride here? And again, Ryan Odom, hell of a job recruiting.
Great job.
Incredible job because
OLIPOP to Ryan Odom.
Yeah, give it out to him.
Virginia.
Maybe 2. Because
that was some clinic masterclass basketball last night.
Oh, it was pretty. It was pretty. As a basketball fan, even though they were beating the brakes off Texas, I have to admire great basketball when it's being played. And he gets players like their point guard, the Mormon kid from BYU that transferred. What's his name? Hall, Dalen Hall. He only had 5 points last night, but he controlling the game. He's physical. That's a big point guard. Jordan Pope, he outweighed Jordan Pope by at least 25 pounds. Then they bring in the light-skinned brother Mallory. He has a Jalen Brunson body. He's out here taking your best on-ball defender, Kendall Weaver, to the post like he's a little baby and just pumping him until Weaver puts his hands over, and then he jumps into it and gets to the line. He just has smart basketball players, and everybody has mass. You know, when you say, oh, they got more size, that's not just height. Like, you got to have some, swollenness up in there. All their dudes look like they've been in the weight room, look like they don't miss many meals. The skinniest one they had was Gerlo, and he's like Chet Holmgren, as you said. Like, he has that kind of skill set. You know what I'm saying? So it was a bad matchup, but Texas, they got to figure some things out. And Matthysse, if he's going to be out of shape, Lassina Traore, that's not what we thought it was going to be. It's just I don't know if it's still the injury. I don't know if it's the jump from mid-major at, where is he? Long Beach. Because he didn't play at Xavier. He didn't play in the Big East. He has no idea. Yeah, he has no idea what Big East basketball is. He watched it. He did rehab in the Big East, but he didn't play in the Big East. So this is his first year back from injury. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt there because that's difficult to do. But also, you're the next up big man. And you saw their brother, that 35, that 7-foot long, lanky dude that was hitting threes. That's their backup for Virginia. So Matthysse is like, oh, cool, Gerlo going to the bench. Who's this brother they bringing in? 35? Who is that? He's hitting threes, putting it on the deck. They just, every position group, they had Texas in shambles. And Kendall Weaver, Tremont Mark, Jordan Pope, they got exposed last night to a team that just, hey, y'all are small to us. Y'all look like JV compared to us. And that's how it looked. It made it look like a JV team playing a varsity team, and Virginia did whatever they wanted. Like, that's tough when you give up 50% from three. And then the stat that I always tell you, Chip, like, how many free throws they shoot?
29.
29, man. They get into the line too, so they're killing me from three. You're killing me from inside. You're getting to the line. And get me by 20.
And they share the basketball. They had 18 assists. Texas had 7. Texas is always in double digits in assists.
Yeah.
You don't know how to share the ball. They don't know how to set each other up.
Yeah.
And
I saw Rodney Terry was there for the hate watch too. Which is great.
Hey, Rodney Terry was having a night out.
Rodney Terry was there. I saw him dapping up Kendall Weaver. He talking to people. Yo, you know how good of a person you have to be if you're Rodney Terry to still get like first class treatment from a place that fired you? Like, he was chopping it up with CDC.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, RT, word on the street, RT's been at football games, not just home football games. Like, RT did not ruffle any feathers on his way out. It just didn't work. But yeah, RT was over there, probably had his legs crossed, probably like this. Just watching, saying, interesting.
Do you see Sarkisian sitting right next to Sean Miller?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, I was like, man, sorry, this is going to be awkward because Sark's going to have to get up and get out of here. I mean, he waited until like the final 5 minutes of the game, but
as he should.
He's got to get out of there ahead of the crowd.
Yeah. We remember when Sark was getting his ass whooped year 1 by Arkansas. Like Sark understands. Sark can relate. Sark can relate. He probably put his arm around Sean Miller, like, yo, I get it. Year one, man. It's a process. You just gotta stick with it. But
yeah, and I said to you early on, I'm like, I don't know if this team's connected. Like, I don't know that they are connected. And that's got to get going. That's got to come together, because right now it doesn't always look like they like playing with each other.
no.
And you gotta have that. You gotta have that chemistry. You gotta have that. Hey, I can't wait to set this guy up. I can't wait to, get everybody involved and get everybody flowing. And yeah, at times it looks like it's five islands out there,
Right.
Yeah.
And I told you weeks ago, the power forward position, that's just going to be a struggle all year long. Cam Heide, that's your best bet. But defensively, Cam Heide's lunch. Defensively against any good power forward. And look at the pattern. Think about the power forwards they've played. Cam Boozer, which they put all their energy in the Cam Boozers, so they let the other players from Duke go crazy. And then once they started focusing on the other players, then Cam Boozer came around in the second half. And then in this game, DeRidder. Now you think about the Arizona State game, they were right there in that game. You know what I'm saying? Because they didn't have a power forward. They had a guard that was killing them. But if the other team's best player is at that 4 position, Texas is in trouble because they try to help Cam Heide. But problem with that is when you double team, you're going to leave someone else open. And when you play a very high basketball IQ squad like Virginia, that's going to move the ball around like Gene Hackman Hoosiers, then you're going to get the result that we saw last night, which is a beat down. So the Nick Cody thing, Nick Cody, it ain't it. He ain't it. Like, I think this coaching staff, I think they're realizing, and Sean Miller talked about it in his earlier presser this week. He talked about Nick Cody. He's like, yo, Nick Cody, he has to do the little things. He has to stay consistent. He was really nice about saying Nick Cody just ain't good enough right now to get consistent minutes. That's why you saw his minutes fluctuate in Maui. So Cam Heide at 6'7", playing your power forward spot, there's only so much he could do. But yeah, last night they put a lot of focus on DeRidder, and all those other guys benefited from it.
Yeah, they got dudes who can hurt you. There's no doubt about it. They got layers of dudes who can hurt you.
Yeah. Texas can't even make like an entry pass to Matthysse.
Oh my gosh.
They can't even get him the ball. For one, it's bad angles. Like Jordan Pope, he's basically by the how there's the Texas logo in the center of the court. So he's basically in the Corpus Christi part of the logo, and he's trying to make a post-entry feed to Matthysse. Not a bounce pass either, just a straight up, full-on, over-the-head pass to the chest. The dude's like this. He's posting up. He has somebody on its back. It's hard for him to catch the ball like this. You got to throw it to a hand. You know what I mean? You have to make it easy for the guy.
Because the other guy just reached in front and swatted it away.
Turnover. Dalen Swain, the same thing. They couldn't even get the ball in at times from that like man-to-man press, kind of like what Vic Schaefer does with the girls. That's what Ryan Odom in Virginia, they were doing on defense. Texas was struggling to get the ball in. Like, this is elementary stuff. We can't get the rock in bounds. That's tough, man. That's tough. Like, we're going to have some tough practices these next few days.
Yeah, we're going to have some tough practices this week. Because that was – and he said it. I mean, he said it in his post-game press conference. It's like, when you're down 25 at home and you want to make – he said, you want to make that other team feel your presence. At home, great crowd. Texas didn't make them feel any kind of presence. The crowd was trying to.
Yeah.
Players couldn't. And then my man Matthysse from the free throw line, I was like, I texted a friend. I'm like, is he practicing his free throws with the shot putters? Because it was like, ugh.
Yeah.
I mean, it looked like he was dead-legged. So they need to figure something out.
I really hope he's sick or something. Well, I don't want him to be sick, but just because he looked so just exhausted last night.
He was 3 of 9 from the free throw line, and he's going to go to the line. Like, he's going to go to the line. And if it turns into a hack-a-shack thing, that's bad, because then teams will just send out some scrub to put fouls on him.
Yeah.
And
he knew he was a huge part of the reason why Virginia was having success, especially on the offensive end for Virginia. Like, he knew they were going at him because he's a slow-footed big man. Like, in the 90s, Matthysse would be a solid NBA draft prospect. Nowadays, he's not. Like, this is probably the first time, and I don't know what, Power 5 schools that he played at FAU last year, but on a consistent basis, playing all these Power 5 schools, this is probably the first time he's seen some crossovers with the speed and quickness that he's seen in his whole career, just because it's a different game. So it's like they were going at him. They were really going at him, and he would throw his hands up like this, like, where's my help? And, he's right. There were times where there was no one in sight to help. But if I'm told, hey, we're playing a really good three-point shooting team, when am I going to decide? Am I going to stop the three-point shooter, which we all had math in elementary school, 3's more than 2, or do I give up the wide open bucket because I'm paying so much attention to the outside? Like, that's good coaching from Ryan Odom. And, Rex, I'm not saying fire the guy, like, at all. Like, I don't think this personnel is anything like what Sean Miller is going to have / go after in years to come. Like, I think he started to realize the guys that he kept around, Nick Cody, Tremont Mark, and Tremont Mark, he's better than this. He's better than this. We've seen him play some good basketball, but also he was inconsistent last year, and a lot of that went to Rodney Terry. So he has a new coach. He's inconsistent again. Sometimes it's just the player. You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes it's just the player. I don't know what Musselman was doing with him, but they weren't winning games when Musselman had him. They weren't in the tournament when Musselman had him, and he was the leading scorer for Arkansas. So, and neither was Jordan Pope. When he was at Oregon State, were they going to the tournament? Hell no. So these guys were the leading scorers on bad teams. And at times they come over here and they're trying to play team ball where the level of competition is better and stuff. And they just haven't been able to stay solid.
Yeah, Pope was, the NC State game, Pope's the guy who shoots you into the game. Last night, he was the guy who shoots you out of the game. He was 0 for 5 from 3. Dalen Swain is the man. Like, he's an all-conference type player. I mean, he's, 15 points, 10 boards, 4 assists. He leads the team in assists. Like, Swain's got feel for the game. He's got to be a part of everything good that's happening. And then you need some guys to come up around him. And I don't know. I don't know what the ceiling is, because I feel like I've seen the Jordan Pope show, and he's going to, like I said, he's going to shoot you into some games. He's going to shoot you out of some games. And when he's shooting poorly, that's when he needs to create for others. Cam Heidi's shooting 63% from 3. He got 2 shot attempts last night. I mean, some of that's on him. I get it, but swing the ball, do what Virginia was doing. they were swinging the ball around the perimeter. Guys were getting good looks at threes, and they made 12 of them, for God's sake. Whereas you got a guy hitting 60% from three, and he gets 2 shot attempts for the game. Like, Jordan Pope, you need to make it your mission or somebody swing the ball so that Cam Heide gets, 4 or 5 looks at a three. Pope took 5 threes, missed them all. I mean, so.
And Simeon Wilcher has a lot of upside. He just turns the ball over too much.
I agree with that.
And you can't play him and Pope at the same time too much, because when they did that, that's when Ryan Odom was like, okay, let's put our bigger guards in the game, because one of them's going to have to guard that 6'5" brother that they have that's averaging 13, and it didn't work out too well. Like, everything just leads to other things. You try to double team your weak spot, and it's just going to lead to another bucket open shot somewhere else. It's just a matter of, will that person hit that shot? Will the 4th man in the game, that's the 4th option in the game, hit that shot? And last night, Virginia's 4th man was giving them buckets. Like the brother that looks like Charlie Villanueva with the headband. Any brother that looks like Charlie Villanueva can hoop. Any brother. I know that is a disease. I'm not poking fun at disease. I'm not saying. I'm just saying every brother that I've seen that looks like that has no eyebrows and bald head with a headband, light skin, can hoop. Has that dog in him. That dude hit 3 huge threes in the first quarter that were deflating.
And his shot is kind of funky.
Yo, he jumps in the air. He's in the air for like 2 seconds. He's got good hang time, and his arms are out like this. Yeah, and he releases that thing. He wasn't fouled on the and 1-3 by Kendall Weaver, but he sold it. And
he even kind of splits his legs when he's in the air.
Yeah, but they were good contests. All 3 shots that he hit, like Jordan Pope probably jumped as high as he has all year to contest his second 3 right before the Kendall Weaver and 1-3. But my man just gets such good hang time and elevation on the jumper. He ain't seeing that contest. And
this Virginia team is going to be ranked soon.
Yeah, I would not want to see him in the tournament. Hell no. No.
Yeah, that was
anyone.
Yeah, they
I said they're going to win the Natty. They could be anyone, though.
Yeah, they
got point guard play,
good length.
They can
shoot it.
Wings, can shoot it. Defense, multiple bigs. 1 7-footer gets in foul trouble, throw in the other 7-footer. Like, we're good. Like, a go-to guy into Ritter, who's 22 years old and played in the top EuroLeague. Do people understand how good that is? In your early 20s, like, you're playing against Luka before he got to the league. Guys like that, like FC Barcelona, Real Madrid, all those big-time soccer teams, they have basketball teams that are at the top of the league also. Same names and everything. That's the league that this dude came from. So, yeah, he has to get acclimated to the American game, but at the end of the day, hoops just hoop. Like, and that should never happen, Joel K. Texas should never be an NIT team. I don't care if Sean Miller's first year or not. Like, you got to evaluate better. And sometimes, you want to keep some of these guys, but he might realize, damn, maybe Trayvon Mark wasn't a good fit. Damn, maybe keeping Nick Cody wasn't a good fit. Like, hey, that's a thing. Steve Sarkisian's going through it too. Like, man, we may be misevaluating some of these guys. Like, it happens. So we'll see. Like, Sean Miller's absolutely right. This could be one of those turning points where the team wakes up and realizes, okay, this can never happen again. And then all of a sudden they go on the run. Like, we're banking on that, but I don't know, man. Last night was rough.
Yeah. Last night was rough. All right. Let's
Somebody said I miss RT. Y'all are tripping.
Yeah, everyone's having some fun today. Everyone's kicking the dog. Everyone's kicking that 3-legged dog today.
Oh man, I love RT too, but
drop
y'all wilding.
Just getting rough. All right, let's get a little mention in here for my guys who are snoring. Maybe this Christmas you give the gift of not snoring. How about that? And here's the thing. It's not just about the snoring. It's about what is causing the snoring. It could be sleep apnea, which is a lack of oxygen while you're sleeping. That's scary. It can cause death. Reggie White died from sleep apnea. It's real simple. Because of this great partnership that we have with Texas Sports Unfiltered and the Sleep Cycle Center, headed by Dr. Chad Denman, who has dedicated his life to treating sleep apnea because it killed his own father at the age of 60. You go to sleepcyclecenters.com, tell them Texas Sports Unfiltered sent you, and they're going to take $100 off your sleep study. And that sleep study is everything. And Dr. Chad has the best technology to detect your level of sleep apnea and the best treatment options. So take advantage of this incredible opportunity and take care of yourself. We tell you all the time, get your heart checked, get your prostate checked, go get your physical. Don't let things sneak up on you. And this is one of them. So go to sleepcyclecenters.com and tell them Texas Sports Unfiltered sent you. Hey, and speaking of taking good care of yourself, how about Humann with 2 N's, whose science-based formulas were founded right at the University of Texas Health Science Center, and they make it so easy. They put right on the bottle what you need to be taking. I take these every day. Humann cholesterol, Humann cardiovascular, and Humann metabolic. Okay? You take all 3 of these together, and it's going to improve your health. It's going to improve your cardiovascular health. It's going to help with your blood sugar. It's going to help with your health, making sure you have healthy cholesterol. And then when you combine that with my Super Beets, I love these things. The Super Beets Heart Chews, which help with blood pressure support. If you got some high blood pressure, get on these Super Beets. I guarantee you'll see an improvement. And of course, my turmeric chews for the anti-inflammatory from Humann with 2 N's, right there, baby. So go to Humann with 2 N's.com/TSU and use the promo code TSU. You're going to get 20% off your first order. So load up. Make sure that you get the cholesterol and the metabolic and the cardiovascular. Take those all together every day because there's a 90-day money-back guarantee. So take care of yourself. Do yourself that favor. All right, Zay. For the chip shot today, Steve Sarkisian said, hey, we're going to honor the Ohio State and Michigan games. I told you there was no way those games were getting canceled because Texas went up there and played those away games. Now those teams are coming here. You gotta play those games. So they're gonna play those games. Then Steve Sarkisian said, hey, after that, everything's up for discussion. And after that is the Notre Dame home and home in 28 and 29. So Notre Dame, that series is officially on notice. Now, Texas has games scheduled in 32 and 33 with Arizona State. I think those games could be just fine. But look, the committee, Steve Sarkisian explained it yesterday. The committee came out in the spring and said, hey, we're all about strength of schedule and head-to-head. Those were the top 2 items on their criteria that they were supposed to be judging the college football playoff field. And then He wasn't. I mean, Sarkisian's right. He's like, oh, it's all about record. Okay. So now you're more focused on a loss than beating 3 top 10 teams. Okay, I get it. So it really is just about the record. And, I'm waiting for Greg Sankey to speak up here because he's supposed to talk today out at the SEC Championship in Atlanta. But it's, it's a factor now. You're going to have to be careful about who you schedule, especially with 9 SEC conference games. So you're going to get Ohio State in Austin. You're going to get Michigan in Austin. After that, who knows? So, and then I think, this is an interesting week for Texas football because they've got, the contract proposals are going out. The exit interviews are happening. Who's staying, who's going. And, one of the guys who, I heard is thinking about going is Quintravian Wisner. And I'm like, huh? So we'll see how that goes. It may be just smart leverage by Quintravian Wisner. I think we're seeing that a little bit with guys like Hero Canoe. And look, if you're a good businessman and you've had a good year, and Quintravian Wisner had some good games this year, he didn't get to have the season he wanted because of the hamstring injury early. He didn't play a game in the month of September, but he showed up big against OU, showed up big against A&M, was on his way to showing up big against Georgia, but they quit running the ball. So, it's going to be interesting week. DeAndre Moore, I'm hearing, is like, I don't know. So, I think Anthony Hill is moving on. I'm hearing Jelani McDonald might be coming back though. So that's positive because Jelani is probably as NFL ready as, any of those names I just mentioned. Yeah. I think there are probably some teams that would value Jelani McDonald highly because of his ability to cover, his ability to defend the run. He brings some pop with him. He's got good ball skills. So, yeah, if you could get Trevor Gooseby back and you could get Jelani McDonald back, that's big. I mean, I think, people are like, Quintravian Wisner, he's not really an NFL guy, and I get it, but the guy's a warrior. He's going to make a roster in the NFL because he's going to play special teams. He's going to play his ass off. He's going to do whatever it takes to make that roster, and then he's going to stick around and get another contract because he's just going to do what he has to do to be in the league. He's a warrior. Like when he transferred from Waco Connolly to DeSoto, everyone was like, oh, he's trying to get on. No, he moved there because his mom had to get a job up there because she lost her job in Waco. And that team didn't need him. They didn't know he was coming. He found a way into that team and then ended up having a bigger game than Jonte Cook in the state championship. So, Quintravian Wisner, doubt that guy at your own risk. I'm not saying he's going to be starting NFL running back. I'm saying he's going to be on special teams like Brendan Schooler. You know what I mean? Like he's going to find a way to maximize his skills, whatever he does. But I could also see where Texas is like, hey man, I don't know what we can pay you in NIL because, we might have to go back the truck up and try and find, I've already seen where they're like, hey, is that North Texas running back available? Caleb Hawkins? Like, I'm not saying Texas is looking at Caleb Hawkins, but I know they're looking in the portal. So, and Texas doesn't mess around. They're going to go try and find a impact guy. And it could, Wisner might be like, okay, well, maybe I need to check where the grass is greener, whatever. Although I did hear that he's looking at turning pro. So big decisions coming up. Big decisions coming up.
Yeah, Contrarian Wisner, I could see it happening. I feel like he could use more reps in college, but also, when it comes to being a running back, you want to get in the league as early as possible because you don't want to come in with all the miles. And the older you are, the worse it is in their eyes. So maybe he's trying to get ahead of that. And who knows? Who knows what kind of feedback he's going to get from these scouts and stuff. But yeah, Jelani McDonald, that dude's good. And he could have a huge senior year. And I think he had his moments, a couple of just bad penalties, bad times, face mask call obviously comes to mind, but those are things to work on.
That was on my man PK for not bringing the heat on the quarterback.
Yeah, you still blame PK for that.
Come on, PK.
DeAndre Moore, unless if he's trying to transfer, then I don't really see it happening for him, And even for Jelani McDonald, they don't value safeties like that. So as good as you might be, Caleb Downs might be the best defensive player in the nation, but we know he's going to go first round. He's just not going to go number one like Arvell Reese might because different positions. So
how about Arvell Reese? That guy was like a backup on their national championship team, and the guy's like, every NFL team is like, can we get him? Because he's long. He's got great length. He's strong. He's fast. Like Anthony Hill. I was talking to some scouts last night about Anthony Hill, and they're like, Anthony Hill isn't as physical and violent as Micah Parsons. He's not as, he's not as explosive as Micah Parsons, but he's always around the football. And it's interesting to hear NFL people say, I don't know that I see Anthony Hill as a middle linebacker in the NFL. Like, I see him more as a weak side linebacker, which means he's going to have to, do it all. He's going to have to drop into coverage. That's why we saw him in a lot of coverage this year, because they were playing him at weak side linebacker. So he could show everybody, I can do this. And so, I love Anthony Hill. I think the guy he's a heat-seeking missile, but, they're going to be different takes. Linebacker is one of the most thankless jobs in the NFL. They don't pay that position a ton of money, and because they know it's an injury-prone position. So they kind of treat it like, kind of the way they've been treating running backs here until, Jahmyr Gibbs showed up and Bijan. But it's going to be interesting. I think Anthony Hill is probably going to move on after this season. And he didn't have the season he wanted last year. He should have won. He should have won the Bednarik last year. Like, he could have won the Defensive Player of the Year award last year. 8 sacks, 16 and a half tackles for loss. An interception, 4 forced fumbles. Last year his numbers were off the charts. This year, kind of half of that, half of those numbers is what he posted. But he got hurt in the Georgia game, didn't play the last 2 games. That makes a difference. So, and DeAndre Moore is interesting because he's a slot. Emmett Mosley was a slot at Stanford. Mosley moved outside, no problem. But if DeAndre Moore, the thing you would miss with DeAndre Moore is the leadership.
Right.
He's the guy that's going to make sure everyone's busting their butt. He's way more vocal than Ryan Wingo. And so, we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I think he should come back. Bet on yourself. I get it, but also think about all the stuff that he was saying before the season and all the goals that he had. He ain't even come close to any of that. So that right there should tell you, well, maybe I should get another year.
Part of it was Arch.
Yeah.
He needed to get through his growing pains. Now you got a quarterback like Quinn Ewers going into his, second and third year as a starter, when Quinn was in total control of the offense, knew where to hit guys, like when he went 8 of 10 on third down the first half against Michigan and was just dicing that defense up. Arch will be that, should be that from the start next year.
Yeah.
And that's for a receiver. You're like, okay. I mean, think about it. DeAndre Moore has 4 touchdown catches this year. 3 of them were in the second to last game of the season.
Right.
I mean, thank God for those, I mean, if the NFL's looking at him and saying, where's the production? And he caught 38 balls this year. He caught 39 balls last year. He actually has more yards this year, fewer touchdowns. But, think about Arch going into his second full year as a starter and that ability to connect with receivers. And actually, DeAndre Moore had the best connection rate of any of Texas's top 4. He and Arch, receptions to targets were the best of Texas's top 4 receivers. So there's already a comfortability there. So we'll see. I mean, if Texas wants to make stuff happen, they can make stuff happen, and we'll see. Because I think Malik Muhammad is ready to go, turn pro. But man, if you could get Gooseby back, and you could get Jelani McDonald back, and look, Jack Endries, they gotta decide what they want to do there. What's he worth to this offense? Because Jack Endries sees the young guys coming. He knows they got Jordan Washington and
Nick Townsend
and Amari Winston coming. So it's going to be interesting. Steve Sarkisian talked about it yesterday. We have values at each position, and we can't get too far over value at one position because then it affects your ability to recruit other positions. And he was very, very open about the fact that they are going to the portal for offensive line. Something they said they didn't like doing because you want to grow offensive linemen within your program. And I thought with that signing class yesterday, Zay, there was a lot of developmental guys in that class.
A ton.
Guys who, you're going to bring guys in from the portal at their position, but these are the kind of guys that are going to stay in the program, and they see the upside so that in year 2, year 3, that's a guy that we can win with. And that's something that I think Texas fans need to kind of recalibrate, because, I think before the portal, everyone was conditioned to be like, do we have the best player at every position in this class? You can't do that. You've got Lance Jackson. You got Colin Simmons. You got Lance Jackson. You're trying to hang on to Zena Umazolo, because Neto's leaving. What if there's a package deal for Neto and Zena? And we know there's 3 Umazolo brothers on the team. Zeke is a incredibly long 6'3" walk-on safety. So I think you got to watch that. And Zena Umazolo, that's a grown man right there. And he's a guy that can play Jack or Buck. And, you're losing, Trey Moore. Hopefully you're going to hang on to Brad Spence, but you're losing Ethan Burke. Lance Jackson's probably going to step in, but you got to have guys rotating in. Who's that going to be? Is that going to be Zena? Is it going to be Colton Vasek? I mean,
hit that portal.
Yeah.
All All right, man. I gotta get to this right call quick because we got Drew coming on in a second.
Yeah, we can also do right call. We can kick Lance off a little early. You know what I mean?
All right, we can do that. Let me get to this Covert Bee Cave hit first. Shout out to Covert Bee Cave, family owned and operated. They're the best in the business. Trust me, I know. We love our Buick Encore GX, man. Just got the oil change not too long ago. Took it to Covert Bee Cave, and hey, they took care of us, sent us back on the road. That's what they're all about. They're all about taking care of the customers, not about meeting that quota. It's not about that sale. No, just, very the ick. That's what the kids call it. You don't get the ick at Covert Bee Cave. You don't want the ick. That's the last thing you want when you're making a big purchase that's going to change not only your life, but your whole family's life. So if you want to go online to see what they have already, go to covertbeecave.com to check all the latest specials and inventory. Buick, GMC, Jeep, Ram, Dodge, Chrysler, and Cadillac are the 7 brands that they offer. They got crossovers, SUVs, trucks, etc. You will find exactly what you want. And the team, my man Daniel, Marcus, Jerome, the rest of the team, they're just great people, and you're going to find what you want. So go to Covert Bee Cave. Nobody beats a Covert deal. Not now, not ever. Yeah. So yeah, the way Sark sounded yesterday, he sounded like he already was kind of, realized, well, we probably won't make the college football playoff, but I tried, which that's all you could ask for, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I see Drew. Let's see if we can
Oh yeah, didn't we have problems last time?
did we? Yeah, we did, didn't we?
Yeah.
Drew, can you hear us?
I can hear you. I'm just trying to get the camera right.
Okay, all right. Yeah, we need to see that pretty mug, that chiseled jawline.
Whatever.
Chiseled jawline of the executive director of the Panini Senior Bowl with all these invitations going out and all this excitement. There he is.
There we go. Yeah, that's my fault.
No worries. How's it going?
Not bad.
It's been a big week for you.
Pretty good day today now.
Okay, give us the latest.
The latest is Caleb Banks, from Florida.
Yep.
Charles Demings from Stephen F. Austin.
Okay.
Big corner. Emmanuel Michael Warren from Toledo. And the one I did yesterday when I went and did a personal invite, Ted Hurst from Georgia State. Right?
Nice.
That's what's today. We're into 2022 officially already, and that's less than 4 business days out there because we didn't send them out till last Tuesday. So, if you want to monitor it, it's actually on Senior Bowl, X, and it's also online, DFAPE, and it's also on our website, the ones that have actually accepted. The invites are not on there, but the acceptances are. Okay. Go ahead.
And you said that a box was going out.
Yeah.
So what's in the box?
For those that didn't actually look, on my X, Panini did a 1 of 145 limited edition card, a Prism card, boxed inside of another box that is theirs to keep. And there's only 1 of 145. That's it. And it is incredibly sharp. It's on my post. It's on the Senior Bowl post. One side has the commemorative black helmet, which is behind me, and it's 3D'd. And on the back side, it has the state of Alabama with the Panini colors with the flag, right where Mobile is, and it's prismed up on the back too, and boxed and sealed.
Nice.
So that was their invite. And we also sent a video with a QR code that, is my welcome to them. And plus it had video pieces from anywhere from Deebo Samuel to Gruden to Richard Sherman to tell these guys how important the Senior Bowl was for their draft stock. Because as Deebo said, he was probably a middle 4th round pick before he came down here, and he blew it up and went in the 2nd round. there's so many examples of that, here that, people don't understand. And again, that's what I'm trying to tell people, nationally. Where can you go to watch this many draftable players at one place at one time?
Yeah.
There's nowhere.
Yeah. And as
yeah.
far as Longhorns, Michael Tapp.
As far as Longhorns, the only one and there's specific rules about this. Okay. If they're a junior and they graduate in December, we can send them an invitation. If they're a junior and they do not graduate, okay, we cannot send them anything. We cannot invite them until they have declared between January 6th and January 12th. Okay.
Okay.
We can't do that until then.
Okay.
The only Longhorn that got a box, right, was Michael Tapp.
Okay.
Okay. Right now. Now, I'm not saying that he will be the only Longhorn to be in the game. I'm just saying that for right now, the rules precluded us from sending out boxes and invites to certain players.
Right.
And
once they declare in early January, then you can extend some more invitations.
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm also very respectful of that, not just because of the league, but because of my relationship with the coaches, because I don't want to push somebody out the door that they're trying to keep, because a lot of guys will say, oh, I got a Senior Bowl invite. That's the greatest thing. And yes, it is. It is an honor. And if you're coming to the Senior Bowl, you're going to get drafted. Bottom line, because all I'm bringing here is drafted players. That's it. Well, I don't want that to mess up that kid's maybe development. That's really like a 5th round guy. That could end up being a 3rd round guy next year if he sticks around and develops more. So I'm very cognizant, and I check with the schools to say, look, even if he's a December grad and he's a junior, do you want me to send the box? And if they say no, I won't send it. Because now again, they could declare and I could still invite them. I mean, that doesn't hurt me, but it could hurt me if I sent the box and it got distributed and the kid goes, hey, I'm leaving. And I didn't check with the head coach. It's just, I want to be more professional than that.
Yeah.
So that's why I do it this way, because I've been on that other side. And sometimes guys listen to certain things and, they just don't listen enough, to be quite honest with you.
Right.
So,
especially now in this age of NIL and transfer portal.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Zay.
Yeah, just your thoughts on Michael Tapp for the end of his season. Obviously, having that injury on his hand set him back, and then he came back those 2 games, struggled a little bit, and then really shined against A&M. I know you've talked about before on our show how he might be undersized for a safety, but his heart is there. Just talk about him a little more with the invite that you sent earlier this week.
I don't think it's just the heart is there. I think the mental is there, and and again, I think I told Chip this a long time ago. Hey, what's the fastest thing to get you cut in the NFL? When you don't know what the hell you're doing, Well, he doesn't know what he's doing. He knows what everybody's doing. So that helps you. When you're the quarterback in the secondary, you control what's going on back in the back end. You actually can correct the front, correct the linebackers. It's a great thing. A lot of teams are going to want to see him play a little bit at nickel and see if he can play at the nickel. Because quite honestly, his size kind of predicates him to being a nickel more so than a safety. Because as you guys saw, when he's up against big backs, it's hard on him, because he's not stature-wise, he's not huge, and he's got to tackle the right way. He's got to tackle guys low. He's got to cut tackle, So, again, a lot of teams are going to want to see how he plays man coverage in the nickel because people understand that he's got great vision and, can play the back end and understands it, make corrections. That's a big thing for him. Now, he's also got to show up on teams, to be an NFL player because he's not going to walk right in the building and start. He's not, So he's going to have to be a backup. He's going to have to be a teamer. He's going to have to learn, and he's going to have to get, he's going to have to get a little bit bigger, and he will, I mean, heck, he's got the mentality for it, right? But there are a lot of teams that, put it this way, I shared with them, my list, and there wasn't anybody that said, I don't want to see Michael Tapp. There are certain teams that said, no, I don't want to see that guy, but they didn't say that about him. So he's earned it. And I think he's kind of earned his way through probably his entire damn life, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So ain't nothing wrong with that. There's not.
Well, one of the backs that I think you're talking about, Mike Washington from
Mike
Arkansas.
Washington.
Yeah, I know exactly what play you were referring to, Drew.
He's headed to the Senior Bowl, right?
Yes, he is. As a matter of fact, his teammate was the first one to actually, accept the invite. He said verbatim, "What the hell did I have to think about?" He was like, as soon as I opened the box, saw the QR code, he says, "I accepted on the spot," and it was the ball kid, the defensive tackle. And then everybody else kind of fell in line. We got everybody from Arkansas. We got everybody from Baylor. All their teammates, or all of them are in. I mean,
yeah,
again,
Mike Trigg, Sawyer Robertson, the Baylor kids.
Yes. And, I think the one that was probably the most excited about it was probably Michael Trigg.
The tight end.
Yeah, because I think he wants to show people that he may be the best tight end in the draft. Yeah. And, again, if he can show he can block in line, he's got everything else. I mean, he's proved that he could be a receiving tight end. I mean, that one's easy. Now just show me in line that you can set an edge. You can hold the point. So, yeah, he was probably the one that was most excited. Yeah, what's funny is when Sawyer saw the 214 area code, he knew it was me. I mean, smart kid. I mean, knew I didn't change my damn phone, right?
Yeah.
So.
What about my man Ethan Burke?
I mean, he's a little bit farther down the list, and and put it this way, the problem he has in this year's draft is defensive end and edge guys. They're loaded. I mean, as good as the interior D line was last year, the defensive ends and the edge rushers are deeper than that class was last year. I'm gonna leave probably 8 to 9 guys on the street or in a different game that I'd like to have, and I like Ethan Burke's game. I do. I mean, I always, I really appreciate guys that play with high motor. They're physical, that wear dudes out and are productive. I mean, it was one of my biases, but, I mean, you got to turn down Bailey. You got to turn down Cassius Howell. I mean,
right.
You're not.
Right.
So that's the quandary I'm in, that I like certain players, but I also understand where guys stack up in the draft. And, when you got fire breathers like that, you got to bring them to the game. You have to.
Because how many guys at each position can you invite, or do you invite?
Well, it's 140 total. I decide how that's broken down. I prefer not to give out that number by position.
Yeah.
Just because it kind of exposes me in a way. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I just wondered, because I know you have those practices, and the practices are as important to the NFL teams as the game, probably more so, right? They want to come watch how these guys practice.
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, that's what some of these guys don't understand too now. I mean, one-on-one pass rush is a defensive drill, and you should win 90% of the time. And if you're not winning 90% of the time, you're not very damn good. So again, you go to one-on-one receivers versus DBs. It's an offensive drill. They should win 90% of the time. Well, again, it's the whole field available. Pass rush, there's not the other lineman truly involved. It's just spacing. Playing in the game is really seriously still important. And how you compete in that game is about how you do your business. It really is. So and again, I kind of agree with you, but I disagree, because it's a great way to showcase. But I also think that every single scout that knows what the hell is going on goes like, wait a minute, that they should win that anyway. I'm like, hey, DeMarcus Ware one-on-one with a lot of space. Yeah, he should win that drill.
Yeah.
Yeah, he should. And now, does he win it every single time? Probably. And he should, if he's that good. So go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you on that one, but I had
appreciate it.
I had to disagree a little bit with your ass.
Drew Campbell for Texas, the guard, DJ Campbell. Anything about him that stuck out to where why you didn't send an invite, or?
Well, I'm not, put it this way, I'm not saying he's not going to get an invite later.
Okay.
He's just not in the top of the stack right now. And again, I'm looking at it as I'm going to have like maybe 4 rounds invites. The first one's going to be just an initial invite. The second one is probably going to be when I find out that there's going to be juniors that are not going to declare. So I'm going to fill spots. Then I'm going to get the declaration at January 6th. And I still may get some guys that don't come out or guys that do come out. Well, then that changes the count. Then there's going to be another one right after that to fill the roster spot. So just because they're not in an initial invite doesn't mean they're dead. You know what I mean? And there are some guys that I'll tell agents, no, he's never going to get an invite here. He's not good enough, you know? And, you know, Campbell wasn't one of those guys. He's just not high enough to be, I mean, because again, you guys only see a part of the country.
Right.
And it's just like when I used to say with area scouts, there used to be area scouts who would come in and go, hey, I got a first round left tackle. And I go, no, you don't. There's 13 guys that are better than him, you know? And because I saw everybody in the country, he didn't. He only saw just a thumbnail of just what's out there. And again, you don't see what else is out there. So you over exaggerate sometimes of what a guy is. And I always say this too. And some of these agents talk to area scouts and they're in the West or they're in the Northeast. And I'm not bashing everybody, but there aren't many damn players in the Northeast and there aren't many damn players in the West. There aren't. Okay. Where's the meat of the players?
Southeast,
Midwest, Southeast, right? Bottom line. Well, when those guys don't see a lot of players, they tend to tell people, hey, he's a second round pick. No, he's not. He's a 4th or 5th round pick. You just don't have enough guys up there to influence you the right way. And again, we used to say this too, that a lot of area guys want to talk in meetings. Well, if they're not draftable, they ain't talking. So sometimes these guys get blown up a little too much, right? And
Well,
that hurts. That not only hurts that part of it, but it also hurts the juniors because they'll tell agents, hey, I just saw a junior that's a 2nd round receiver. And it's like, no, he's not. No, he's not. But again, then it gets to the coach, and the coach is now worried about losing the kid to the NFL draft because some dumbass area scout, you know, said this, you know,
yeah.
because he wanted to be heard or he wanted to be a big timer with an agent, you know. And for those of you that are listening, I'm talking about you. You know? So,
Yeah, call him out, Drew.
no, I mean, it's bad because then it comes back to me and it's like, hey, I heard this. Well, guess what? No, it's not true. You know,
Well,
don't waste your time.
You have an eye on, like you just said, that the defensive end position, the edge position is loaded. What other positions are loaded for this year's draft or the 2026 draft? And what positions does it look like it's light?
You know, I think this is going to be one of the best tight end groups, I think, in probably about 4 or 5 years. There's some guys that are real true wise that can kind of do it all. I mean, are they George Kittle? No, but at least they can block in line. They can separate. You know, they can block in space. You know, I mean, you know, they can do it all. There's also a lot of really good detached HF types and, you know, good receiving tight ends that really are kind of, how would I say, kind of just smaller slots. They're bigger slots. You know what I mean? Safeties is light. I mean, safeties are light. The linebackers are a little bit light. The tackles are probably about the same as it has been. Interior linemen are a little light. I think the quarterback class is actually pretty good. I think there's some guys that are going to come down here and show people that, you know, maybe the lesser year might have been an aberration and might be because they weren't on a very good football team. You know, corners are solid. Interior D-line is not as good as it was last year, but like I said, the edges make up for it. They do. So I think I covered all running backs. About the same. Really good group of big running backs, which I like. I like Big Ben. Small guys wear down. Big guys don't get any smaller.
Yep, that's right. Speaking of a bigger guy, Taylon Green, he was invited and will be at the Senior Bowl this year. It's hard to look at the record and see a 2-win team and be like, well, this guy, there's something about him, but clearly there is. Talk about that a little bit for us, Drew.
Yeah, I mean, he is truly a dual threat quarterback. He is not Lamar Jackson, but he's a threat as a runner. If you don't have your pass rush lanes and you don't show integrity in those, he'll make you pay. He's a little bit streaky as a thrower. Hopefully, he kind of develops more into a passer. I think once he gets a little bit more private training, his lower will get cleaned up. He'll be more on balance. He's got kind of a half sidearm kind of stroke, which lends to a flat ball, which doesn't lend to a lot of touch. But when he's hot, I mean, he kind of rolls for about 8 or 9, and then all of a sudden he just throws 3 in the dirt. There's just no consistency, and it's a lot to do with mechanics. And he'll improve. He'll also get bigger. He is kind of a slight frame kid. Had nothing to do with he had a 214 area code either, did it? We talked about that right off the bat, And I'm thinking, if I remember right, Louisville, right?
Yeah, Texas.
I think he's Louisville. I think.
Yeah.
So, always got a slight piece of my heart back in the Lone Star State. You know that.
Well, and who I'm trying to think of. I mean, there were some Auburn guys that have been invited. What about yeah, I mean, I don't know if you had any crossover, probably did with some, right? When you were there?
I did, especially with Keldrick Falk. I recruited the hell out of him. And I can't take sole credit for him, but he got an invite. He's yet to accept, but I have a funny feeling he will. Alexander Wright, we still tell the story. He was a nose tackle, and the first day of fall practice, I grabbed him and I said, "Look," I said, "you're a dime a dozen." And he's like, "What do you mean?" I said, "You're a 1-down nose." I said, "You have no pass rush ability whatsoever." I said, "I can find 20 of you guys every year." I said, "You decide to play guard?" I said, "You may be able to make a living for about 8 or 9 years in the NFL." That night, he went into Brian Harsin and says, "I'd like to play guard." And from then on, he has played guard, and he just got an invite and accepted last night. And he sent me a picture, big old smile, his chain, and hold it up in the air. He said, like, "Thank you." I was like, "You earned it, dude." I mean, you did, And Crawford, K-Ron, I didn't have crossover with him, but he has elevated his play every week, and he was vicious against Alabama now. He caused issue after issue after issue. And I bet you he came in probably 4th round grade, and I could see him going in the 2nd now. I mean, and especially if he comes down here and does what he did, against Alabama, yeah, he'll solidify that he'll be a 2nd round pick. He will.
Wow.
Yeah.
This one's for Chip. How about SMU Romeo Brinson?
Romello,
excuse me.
Romello is a little bit underdeveloped, body type wise. Needs some weight, needs some mass, needs to play better against the press, needs to stay in his stem better. But for his length, he is very good in and out. He separates well, and he's got long speed and very good hands and a big catch radius. I think he's got upside that the NFL teams will love because he's not just an X. He could be a Z, and he could play inside and outside in the league later on. He had a couple teammates who were close too. I mean, but, again, you run into the wrong position at the wrong year. I mean, I got to leave somebody on the street. I mean, I can't take them all. I mean, I'd love to, but can't. But he's a really nice kid. I visited with him after he took the invite. and he's thrilled to death to come down here and compete. And that's what I want these guys to do. And I told him, I said, look, I said, this is going to be a little bit different for you guys. What do you mean? I said, well, I said, there's guys you lined up against, for the last couple of years. I said that, they'll be working at FedEx in about 3 weeks. I said, these guys down here, I said, they're dudes. I was like, they're dudes. So just be ready. I told him, I said, you best be ready. I said, because you're coming again. There's 2 taglines, and there's one I stole from Gruden that I made, right? It's a draft starts in Mobile, right? Which it does, right? Best versus the best, right? And where players come to play. Bottom line. I mean, so if you want to prove yourself, you prove yourself right here. And everybody knows it. I mean, everybody knows it. So,
yeah.
Again, you got to bring your tail down here to understand. Instead of sitting there watching it on NFL Network, say you got to bring your ass down.
Why FedEx though?
Well, I mean, what else was I going to say? Was I going to say a mail carrier? Was I going to say UPS? I mean, what I'm saying is they are not going to be making a living in the NFL, right?
Yeah.
Should I say they're going to be working at what?
No, you were fine. Everybody understood what you were saying.
Yeah, I mean, okay, should I just say, well, he'll be working in another profession, say? Would that be better?
No, you just make me laugh, Drew. I'm just trying to get on your level, baby. That's all.
Hey,
what? You got champion, conference champion weekend.
Yep.
What do you think happens in Alabama, Georgia?
I think Georgia's getting better every damn week.
I agree.
I told you that about 3 or 4 weeks ago. Those young cats on defense are getting better and better. I mean, they were young and they kind of showed they were a little young early. The offensive line wasn't moving people like they were now. I'll tell you what, I think that's going to be a hell of a battle. I really do. And they better protect Ty Simpson better because I'm going to tell you what now, that sumbitch is tough as nails now because he took some shots, and they got to do a better job protecting him because he's a difference maker when he's got time. He really is. And Alabama's got to run the ball, and I don't know if they can against Georgia. So, I mean, I think that's going to be hard. I think that's going to be that could be one of those that's a 2017 game, something like that. Or who knows? I mean, it could be 45-43. I mean, you just never know how the defense is going to play. But both defenses are playing really good ball right now.
What about Ohio State, Indiana?
Ohio State. I mean, I love what Sig has done. I just don't know if they're at that level yet because, I mean, there's a lot of dudes that are going to be playing on Sunday at Ohio State. A lot. I mean, there's a really good share of them at Indiana too. There really are. But, the difference is there's maybe 22 of them at Ohio State. There's maybe 12 of them at Indiana, And it's always like, how many NFL guys – I mean, remember what Nick said? How many draft choices do you need on the field to compete each year? 12 on the field every year. Well, I ain't so sure Indiana's got 12 NFL, draft choices on that field, And Ohio State, I mean, it is Ohio State, isn't it? Yeah. And I think I said it the last time. If you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. And there was a school I interviewed at, for a GM job, and they kept saying, well, we did it this way. Well, we did it this way. Well, we didn't need that. And I said, I said, who do you want to be? I said, do you want to be Ohio State? I said, you got to act like Ohio State. You want to be Texas? You got to act like it. You got to act like Texas. Instead of going like, oh, well, we did it this way in the past. Well, we've been successful. How successful? Did you ever win a conference championship? No. Then why are we still going to act that way? Why are we still going to do that way? Just like when I came here, it was like, oh, I've always done that way. Nope. That's changing. That's changing. Because again, if it's not broken, the key is don't fix it, right? Well, if it's not working for everybody, let's try to make it work for everybody. And again, just because you did it that way and it's successful, well, can we make it better? So again, that's Ohio State. Ohio State is, an upper echelon team, and we'll see if Indiana can step up, which, I love what Coach has done. I love what Indiana's done. But, again, That's Ohio State. Show me.
How about your guy Neil Brown taking over at North Texas?
Great hire. He gets it. People don't realize how hard a job West Virginia is. It's incredibly hard to get to. The population, and again, doesn't lend itself to being successful within the state in recruiting. There are more people in Dallas proper than there are in the entire state of West Virginia. There's only 2.5 million people in the state of West Virginia. So where are you going to get your players from? Everywhere else. Well, guess what? Everywhere else is getting them too. If you're going into North Carolina, well, North Carolina State is trying to get them. You go into, Pennsylvania, Pitt and Penn State are trying to get them. At least in Texas. I mean, you got within 400 miles of North Texas, you can field a very, very good football team. Very good football team. Now, are you going to beat Texas on a kid? No. You're going to beat Texas Tech. I mean, what I'm saying is you got to recruit better. You got to evaluate better. You got to coach better. But at least in that conference, you're probably on par and probably level with your competition-wise. I mean, as far as revenue share goes and NIL goes, because there are certain teams in that conference that do not have the money to compete. And I always used to say this, and I never got the opportunity. I always said, make me level and I'll kick your ass. Okay? Guess what? They're probably a little above level in their conference. And you got Denton, right? You got close to Dallas. You got Burb. You got Argyle right there. I mean, you got Prosper. I mean, it's a better place to recruit to, So what I'm saying is that West Virginia wasn't an easy place to win at. And he did leave with a winning record, did he not?
Yep.
I mean, 2 bowl games in the last 2 years he was there. So, again, that's hard. Great hire, really, really good offensive mind. I mean, he makes you defend all 11, which is a bitch for defensive coordinators. He gets it. He communicates with the kids real well. He hires good coaches. He works hard. He seems like he's a little bit standoffish at the start. I think he's very cautious, but once kids get to know him, once you get to know him, personality blows up. And he's really just a good person. And there's not a lot of good people in coaching. There's not. I mean, don't kid yourself. There's not.
Yeah.
Hey. I mean, seriously, I coached for a long time. I mean, there are times I was a really bad person, because, again, recruiting's a dirty business. Coaching's a dirty business. We always used to say, great game, effed up business, right? It is. So
kind of like radio.
Yeah, I'll bet it is. And
love the game, hate the business.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well,
I tell every agent now, Chip, I think I told you this last night. I said, I hate 95% of your profession every time one of them calls me. And they go, well, I hope I'm in that 5%. I said, don't know yet.
Yeah.
Let's find out.
Still sorting through that.
That's right. We'll find out. Yeah.
Hey, Drew, last one for me real quick before we let you go. What did you think of Texas win against A&M?
I thought it was really impressive. I thought the halftime adjustments were incredible. I thought, and again, I kept saying this week after week with y'all, every time the game slows down a little bit more each week for Arch Manning, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And again, more reps, the more time he sees it, the more time he gets comfortable with it, the more you'll see what he's capable of, because he's got all the traits. I mean, so just let the kid grow up. I mean, for God's sake, instead of putting these asinine, expectations on him. The offensive line was better. They did some great job with protection changes. Defense played really well, which I'm not surprised. I mean, Kwiatkowski does a great job. He always has. I mean, goes way back to flipping Boise. How long he's been doing a good job coordinating. In the back end, they were solid. The backers held up pretty well for being kind of the last man standing, if you know what I mean. And I was surprised. I don't know if Marcel's injury kind of slowed him down a little bit. I think it did, because he wasn't trying to escape like he was early, and I think that's what kind of hurt him. The mobility piece kind of let the D coordinator, kind of get after his ass a little bit more. But impressive in the second half. I thought they were going to get smoked in the first, 7 minutes. I did. I thought it was oof, well, this could get bad. And then, sure enough, you stick with it, you're resilient, you got a chance. You do.
Lions or Cowboys tonight?
Ooh, where they playing? I didn't even check.
Detroit.
Detroit.
Okay.
Well, Detroit. And
I know you got to bounce. You're going 100 miles an hour.
I think I got one in about 5 minutes, but love y'all.
Hey.
Yeah.
Love you too, Drew. Appreciate you, man.
Yeah.
See you, brother.
Thanks for keeping it real.
All right. See you, bro.
All right. We'll see you next week. There he is, the executive director of the Panini Senior Bowl.
Oh,
Hey, I love talking to Drew because he's just gonna lay it out there.
yeah, he's funny, man. I got this first round pick. Yeah. He's a third round pick to me. Get out of here.
Yeah, that guy, he's gonna be working at FedEx in the next couple months.
Yo, you know how effed up that is? You're thinking you're about to play in the big leagues, man. You're thinking you're about to make it to the show, and then you just realize I'm not good enough. I ain't cut out to be an NFL player. It ain't for everybody, man. It's not. It's a very selective few, and it's an honor. You earn everything you get, but yeah, you got to keep it real. Guys' jobs are on the line. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I keep making mistakes. Not everybody's Jerry Jones, where you could just keep effing up, but since you're the one effing up, can't fire yourself.
Well, always a loaded off the rails Thursday. We bring in now our SEC insider and prognosticator from Next Round Live and lanceslock.com, the Lance Taylor. LT, how you doing?
Hey, fellas. I am good. I see the Detroit hat. Huge game in the NFC tonight.
Huge.
Detroit Lions hosting
Have to
Dallas.
win.
It's crazy, man. I was talking about this today. We don't talk a ton of NFL, not as much as maybe I would like, but I kind of know our audience, and they're more college football focused. But I think there are 9 really good teams in the NFC this year, and there's only 7 spots. And you look at San Francisco at 9-4 and the injuries they battle, they are your final team in. So if Detroit or if Dallas loses, they're done. When you look at all the mathematical, scenarios and how they could possibly get in. But it's going to be really tough for your Lions if they're to lose this game. And Amon-Ra St. Brown, that's a big loss. But I think we'll get a lot of Jahmyr Gibbs tonight.
Yeah, this is huge. I told Zay coming in, I was like, this is it. This is, for all intents and purposes, an elimination game. Unless you're going to start hoping for other teams to crumble here down the stretch. You got to win this game. It's a home game. Yeah. They lost at home to the Vikings. I mean, they've had some really questionable losses.
Yeah, I've got a big play on this, lanceslock.com. I've got the side figured out. I'll text you, get your reaction here in a little bit, Chip, but it's available right now at lanceslock.com.
Okay. How do you feel about Jared Goff, Lance? Obviously, you being a Rams fan, that's the team that drafted him. But, Goff, he's really good, but right now it's a little bit up and down. You could put that on Campbell. You could put that on losing Laporta. Now Amon-Ra St. Brown. Your thoughts on Jared Goff?
When he got drafted way back in 2016, the Jeff Fisher era, Les Snead was the general manager back there. It came down to Carson Wentz or Goff. I didn't think either one of them necessarily would be great, but I wanted Carson Wentz. I believe, because I remember Wentz, it was against the Rams when they were playing in the Coliseum before SoFi got done. It was the year Foles took over. You guys will remember this, and they ended up winning the Super Bowl anyway. I thought for a minute the best player on the planet was actually Carson Wentz. And then he got that injury, and he never was the same. But, from that, once Sean McVay took over, I think Goff got a little more comfortable. He was great in 2018 en route to playing in Super Bowl 53. But then he started to struggle, had a thumb injury, lost his confidence totally, and he was so inconsistent. And it got to a point where Sean McVay is one of those that will never badmouth the quarterbacks, but he would sit here, and you could tell he was cussing Goff just, during the game. And it came to a point where, McVay ran into Matt Stafford in Cancun, or they were in Cabo. Cancun's way below their pay grade. Ran into him at Cabo, and they concocted this idea, what do we give up to get Stafford in 2021, in March of 2021, and it obviously worked out. And it was one of those trades, you never see this, but it worked out perfectly for Detroit. with everything Brad Holmes and that organization acquired and what they turned into, part of their starting 22, and then what the Rams were able to do with Matt Stafford, and even missing out on all these first rounds. Les Snead has done such a great job of evaluating talent in late rounds and guys that are such impact guys. And I give Les Snead a lot of credit for Brad Holmes because he's kind of the guy that groomed him. But all that to say, I pull for Jared Goff. I think he was dealt to Detroit, and a lot of people believed his career was just going to melt down, that he was sent to the abyss, which is the Detroit Lions. And I think he's been a top 10 quarterback since he got there. So is he a guy that's going to win a Super Bowl? I don't know if you can trust that, Zay, because we go back where they were the 1 seed and they got completely blown out of the water. But you go back the year before that, he led them to the NFC Championship game. They were up at halftime. They should have probably won that game. So he's a quarterback that can win a championship, and they've got all the weapons around him, and he's an easy guy to pull for, in my opinion.
Yeah, I feel like Texas's best chance to win a national championship was last year, and the Lions' best chance to win a Super Bowl was 2 years ago when Dan Campbell just kicked some field goals, fool. You're up 17 on the road. Quit.
Yeah, I don't know about Texas. I've still got my reservations on Sark, and I think that team was really good, but I still think the way they amass talent, you're going to have opportunities.
Yeah.
Don't know about Dan Campbell. We'll see. I hope he never wins one.
Yeah. Lance, all we've heard all week is that Kirby Smart has an Alabama problem, and now they go play for the title at the Benz, per usual, it seems like. But Alabama hasn't been playing well as of late. Your thoughts on this game?
Well, they are 4-0 all-time against Georgia in the SEC championship game. I've been in at all those, 2012, 2018, 2021, and 2023. You mentioned the Kirby problem. I mean, it's the facts are the facts. I mean, Kirby is 1-7 against Alabama. It's pretty amazing. In top 10 matchups, he's 24-10 in his career as a head coach in top 10 matchups, but he is 1-7 against Alabama. So, or excuse me, is that right? Yeah. 6 of the loss. He's 1-6 against Alabama. I think that's right. Or maybe they were on the outside of it. Anyways, 24-4 against top 10 teams not named Alabama. So, they have breezed 71-3 against everyone not Alabama, 1-5 versus Alabama since 2020. It is his kryptonite. I think there's something real to it. I can't really explain it. I do think Alabama isn't playing their best football. I think their defense is playing really good. But at the same time, if you watch Georgia last Friday against Georgia Tech, as good as they were, they didn't look good in that situation. The offensive line, you've got 2 starters that probably won't play. Gunnar Stockton did not look like the Gunnar Stockton we saw all of November. So I think both of these teams have question marks coming into it. This is a massive game for Alabama, though, because if Alabama was to lose this game, I don't think they're in jeopardy of falling out of the college football playoff. But then they're going to be playing on the road first round. Instead of, if they win this game, I think they're going to get a bye. And I think they got time to rest up. And, they've got some guys that are banged up right now. Jam Miller, your starting tight end, and Josh Cuevas, LT Overton, one of your best defensive linemen. So there are guys that it would really benefit Alabama if they were to win this game and get a first-round bye, which I think they will. Some people are, a little indifferent on that. But Kalen DeBoer is great in these spots too, 7-1 against top 10 teams. And his one loss, national championship game to Michigan a couple of years ago. And I can't wait, man. These conference championship games, I don't think they mean nearly as much, but I'm heading over tomorrow after the show. We're going to be hosting some legends at Fanfare, SEC Fanfare, so doing interviews with guys like Tyrann Mathieu and Cam Newton. So looking forward to that and then going over to the game. But, it just seems every time you look up, Alabama, Georgia, they're playing in this game as crazy as this season was, with A&M having the year they had and Ole Miss having the year they had and Oklahoma having it still is Alabama, Georgia. And one of these two teams is going to win an SEC championship for the 11th time in 12 years, which is nuts.
Lance, are you hearing these rumblings about, Kalen DeBoer possibly to Penn State, or if Michigan lets go of Sharon Moore, that he could end up at Michigan? Is this just fantasy, or what do you make of it?
So the way I would read into it, and I've talked to people that are closer to DeBoer, like I don't really have, I mean, he's a nice guy. I've met him in person 4 or 5 times. So I'm not going to say I've got a relationship with him. But the people I've talked to said that he is very comfortable. He's not pursuing it at all. I did hear, from a Penn State booster that they were pursuing DeBoer. DeBoer wasn't interested at that particular time. It was a couple of weeks ago. But they felt like there would be more interest if he missed the college football playoff. I do think if they would have lost to Auburn just based on the way the fan reaction would have been, I don't know if he would have left or not. I think it would have been easier to leave. Now, again, you'd be leaving to go to a program that fired their coach in season that just 8 calendar months before was in the semifinals. So, like, you can trade one for the other, but the expectations are the expectations at these programs. But I have heard, and I do a bourbon podcast with a guy that works for the Collective, and he did a sit-down interview with DeBoer's wife this past week, and he's like, I'm telling you, there is nothing to it. She's loving it. Everything's good. So I find it hard to believe that he would leave. I mean, Alabama's a better job than Penn State. I mean, it just is. I mean, you can make your arguments for Michigan, but Alabama's a better job than Penn State. If you want to win championships, I think you've got a better path at Alabama, and he's still got an opportunity this year to win a national championship. So I don't think he's going to go anywhere. Whether or not he's like 100% happy, I'm not sure, but how many people are 100% happy, right?
You say 7-1 against top 10 teams?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a hell of a lot better than James Franklin's record up there.
No, I think anybody, if you're smart, like, Kirby Smart, Kalen DeBoer, I think we're close to putting Turk Signetti into that equation. When you win, 11 regular season wins, everybody's like flash in the pan joke. It was a transfer portal thing with James Madison in the schedule. And then you better it by winning 12 games. Like, I think Signetti's kind of in that mix right now, but there's only I don't know who you would take over, maybe Kirby Smart, but if you're drafting coaches, like Kalen DeBoer's got to be in everybody's top 3, 4, 5, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's outstanding. He's kind of boring. I like him. He's a nice guy. He's never going to get you in trouble. He's not going to pretend to have a dog and not have a dog.
How about that?
Oh, that drives me insane.
Tell me why.
Well, first of all, I'm a big dog guy.
Right.
I'm the same way.
Oh, my.
Come here. So you see Bullet right here. My rescue, and he's gotten so spoiled. I've got the fire on, and I'm sweating my ass off right now. And Chili right here, both rescues, Vizslas, but they get farmer's dog. And I decided, I was like, shit, I'm spending too much money on this farmer's dog stuff. And so I was like, I'm going to drop them down to kibble. They won't eat it. They look at it and they're like, we're not doing this. And these were dogs that were found in the wild. Well, anyway, I've got a soft spot for dogs. And when you use a dog as a PR ploy and you act like it's your best friend and you've got a social media account. I mean, just imagine Nick Saban setting up a social media account for an animal that he really didn't have an affiliation with to get into the good graces of whoever. Like, coach football, that's what you're getting paid for. And I don't know, man. I just think Lane is so hokey. I thought he had matured a little bit with some of the offseason talk. And, I pull for him in his sobriety and staying clean in that regard. But, he sold me on being a more mature guy. And when you find out that he literally did not even have a dog, it drives me crazy. It really does.
I remember telling Zay when Juice, the alleged dog, tweeted at Hack to a girl. I was cracking up. I was like,
look, I mean, Lane, he's a guy that, man, Joey Fishwater, that stuff's all legitimate. And I mean, you get what you get with Lane. If he's your guy, I guess you love him. But if he's not, and I was wrong on this. When Auburn was going through the Brian Harsin disaster and they were looking to hire, everybody wanted Lane Kiffin. And when I found out that Hugh Freeze was very much in the mix, I was like, I think Hugh Freeze is a better option. I think you can rely on him more. Now, I didn't realize Hugh Freeze was going to take this final golden parachute and parlay it into 2 rounds of golf every day and kind of drift off. Same thing Brian Kelly did. So like, I'm to the point now where like, I want a young, like an Alex Golesh or a Brian Hartline or a John Summerall. I want a young, motivated coach that's really never accomplished anything, because those guys are hungry. But I couldn't believe everybody that wanted Kiffin. And then the same thing with DeBoer. When he was hired, people were telling me, you are crazy. Because my number one guy was like, if Greg Byrne, the athletic director for Alabama, if he is going to get the home run best hire he can get, going from the greatest to ever do it, Nick Saban, I think it's Kalen DeBoer. And a lot of people weren't really familiar with him. And they told me, you're insane. Lane Kiffin needs to be the guy. And I was told, and how legitimate this is, I don't know. I think it is, that with certain people still around Tuscaloosa, Lane Kiffin would never get that job. But there was a huge contingent of Alabama fans that wanted Lane Kiffin. And my whole thing is, man, like, okay, it's fun in a regard, I guess. And I'm still very, very immature. But, like, I just don't want that guy running my program. I just don't. That's just me. And again, I'm very immature. I've done a lot of the same things Lane has done. But I'm not in charge of 100 guys. Like, I'm not molding your son to get out into the real world. And there's just something about Lane I just don't like. I just don't.
Yeah. How do you feel about Alex Golesh taking the Auburn job? I love this answer when he was asked about playing golf and stuff. That was classic. But yeah, seems like the guy that Auburn wanted, and they got him.
Yeah, I think maybe some people wanted Summerall a little bit more just because they weren't as familiar with Golesh. Summerall's a guy that coached and played in the SEC. And, when you look at Summerall in 4 years as a head coach, had won double digits, 2 years at Troy, and then one of the 2 years at Tulane. And I think that was kind of what everybody wanted. And then, Alex Golesh is a guy I've been talking about a couple of years. Like, I think his offense is so much fun. And when you start to look at the no nonsense that he is, and Summerall's one of those guys too, but Golesh just talks about, we're going to outwork. And, this is a guy, and you guys probably know this by now, he's from Moscow. His family relocated from Russia when he was 7 years old. And of course, now the Alabama fans have grabbed onto that, and they're like, they hired a commie. I can't believe they hired a Russian.
Man,
that's what you get when you're in this part of the country. Yeah, going nuts on this guy. Now, I don't know. I haven't got my first question. I am going to ask him. He was born in 84. Rocky IV came out in 85. Greatest rivalry ever was, the Soviets against the Americans. I told you guys I went and saw the 40th anniversary of Rocky IV. As a kid, he might have pulled for Drago. I don't know that for a fact, but I guarantee you now he would pull for Balboa. He is a guy that it's easy to get behind. He won the press conference. He took a team that was, I think, the combined record was 4-29 the 3 years before he took over South Florida, and he's completely turned it around. So he obviously can rebuild a program. Again, he's a no-nonsense hard worker, and I think he will tell boosters, option 3, go F yourself. I'm doing it my way. It's exactly what Auburn needs. So I think there's been a lot of good hires. And again, they're unknowns. Like Brian Kelly, I was completely wrong on him. I was wrong on Hugh Freeze, but I think John Summerall to Florida. I think Alex Golesh to Auburn. I think these are really good hires. The problem is how good the SEC is right now. Like, only a couple of these guys. I mean, Texas, your preseason number 1 is not even in the college football playoff. So really difficult to win 10 games. And everybody's expectation is you should win 10 games.
Who's the one who asked him about his golf game?
It was, hold on. I know this. Oh, it was the guy that writes for AL.com.
What did you think of his answer?
I thought it was funny. Hey, like, what did he say? This is a trap question? Or
yeah, he's like,
But he went to the whole. Hey, we lived on the nicest golf course in Tampa. My son plays. My wife plays. I like football. I don't necessarily like golf, and I'm no good at it. So that's what you want. Like, I didn't realize Brian Kelly was playing the amount of golf he was playing. Like, I don't even know. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever heard this story, but a guy that works with me. His dad has got a place up in the North Carolina mountains. It's called the Highlands, or it's where all these rich people are. But Saban was up there playing around, and it was like the week before. I think they were on a bye the week before LSU, and he hit a hole in one. And everybody he was playing with, they were going nuts. And people were pulling their cameras out, and he's like, absolutely not. Like, nobody can talk about this. Nobody needs to know. And this is Nick Saban after winning multiple national championships. And I was playing golf the week before LSU. And so, like, even if you're winning, I don't know. I don't know if you can play a lot of golf if you're a head coach.
Yeah.
Maybe that's fair. Maybe it's not. But, it didn't work out for Brian Kelly, and it didn't work out for Hugh Freeze.
Indiana, Ohio State. Ohio State favored by 4. What do you think?
Well, I mean, the rosters, it's not even close really, but when you start statistically looking at these teams, Indiana's second in scoring offense, second in scoring defense, Ohio State, the number 1 scoring defense. They are so good against the pass, only giving up 121 yards, but they haven't played a guy like Mendoza. Last year, I think a lot of people forget it was 7-0 Indiana, and then they go to half 14-7, and then it was a Caleb Downs return punt for Ohio State. The punter muffed one for Indiana that turned into a touchdown. Special teams, complete debacle. I think they were way over their head at that point, but I think it settled down. I think going into Altstadt and beating Oregon by double digits this year, I think this team believes. I think this game is bigger for Indiana just based on where we are, because if they're to win this game, they go into the college football playoff believing they win the whole thing, and they would go in as a number 1 overall seed. I kind of like Indiana in this spot. I don't love it. It's a really difficult game to handicap. I think there's a little bit more money on Indiana trickling in right now, but they have got some players. And I think Mendoza, whether he's able to do it against this defense, we shall see, because they are legit. And Julian Sayin leads the nation in QBR right now. I can't wait. I don't know how important this game is. And I saw where the tickets are like $400 or $500 just to get in, which is kind of crazy, because whoever loses this game is still going to get a bye. In the grand scheme of things, for Ohio State, it really does nothing. For Indiana, you can claim an outright first-time ever Big Ten championship, and they haven't shared one since '67. But I think it is bigger for Indiana, and I think Indiana will come to play. Cignetti can coach, and I know it's hard to say this because Day has got a national championship, but there's a possibility that Cignetti, you've got the better coach at Indiana, you got the better quarterback at Indiana. I mean, we'll see after Saturday night, but right now I lean Indiana plus the points.
It's a home game for Indiana.
It is. And I would assume those are who's buying up the tickets. You go on and you piss away. Basketball hasn't been good for us. We've saved up. We really haven't traveled in the NCAA tournament. So we've got this money. Let's spend it and go, an hour's drive down the road to Indianapolis and go watch our team maybe win our first ever outright Big Ten championship.
Yeah. Any surprises you see this weekend?
I would love to say BYU wins this, but if BYU's to win it, it makes it so easy for the committee, because I think at that point, and I don't know if you guys have talked about this scenario, then I think BYU slides. They're obviously in. Texas Tech's not going to fall out. Alabama's not going to fall out. Then you got your Group 5, and you've got your ACC champion. Even if it's Duke, they'll find a way to get them in. And then you leave both Miami and Notre Dame out. But if BYU doesn't pull it off, then it comes down to the committee. What are we going to do? And I think ultimately, and this is crazy based on where the Vegas odds, and I'm about to get me some money on this, literally, because I've been meaning to do it all day. I've been really busy. I am going to play Miami to get into the postseason over Notre Dame, because I think what happens here is if BYU loses, which they probably will, they're 11.5-point dogs, then Alabama is going to stand pat. They're in. And then you've got to make the decision between Miami and Notre Dame, but they're going to be up on each other now the way this thing is moved. So I don't know how the committee can really look at this with similar resumes when you had the head-to-head and put Notre Dame in front of Miami. It's going to be so chaotic and so controversial, but I think Notre Dame's a better team. I think Notre Dame could win a national championship. I think Miami might be able to win a game or two, but head-to-head's got to mean something, and I think ultimately the committee will fall back. It's going to be a terrible look. Easiest thing for them, again, is BYU to win, and they can really avoid controversy. But I think BYU loses, and I think Miami gets in. I really do.
Wow.
You got one more, Zay?
Yeah, anything around the NFL you like?
Again, 7-star on the game involving Chip's team tonight with the Dallas Cowboys. I am so excited about the fact that there are so many elimination games coming up over the next few weeks, just without even getting into the postseason. And so many people were afraid of expansion, going to 7 teams in the postseason and going 17 weeks or 18 weeks now with 17 games. But I just think these NFL games are going to be great. I continue to doubt the Chicago Bears. They continue to kick me in the dick and win every week. I'm going to doubt them again this week, going to Lambeau to take on Green Bay. It's been a great story for Ben Johnson and, Caleb Williams, those guys getting on the same page. I mean, I know you miss Ben Johnson and what he seems to be building there, their ability to run the football, and they believe. I don't think they're very good. You go back before the Philadelphia win, they were winning against really bad teams by, a field goal or 4 points, and they were finding ways to win in really tight games, but they got a lot of confidence right now. So there's zero chance they're going to get home field, but they're probably going to be in the postseason.
Yeah. LT, tell them what's going on at Lance's Lock.
Yeah, we've got plays up right now, college basketball. We've had a great season overall in all sports, but we do have a big, and 7 stars, a big play for us. We've got that on the side tonight in a very, very, significant game in the NFC with Dallas and Detroit. It's available right now, free play every single day. Just go to lanceslock.com. You can buy a daily package, weekly, monthly, seasonal package, or you can just play the free plays every single day. lanceslock.com.
LT, you're the man. Let's do it again next week.
I wish Texas was there for the simple fact that I would see you guys in Atlanta this weekend, but I will try to hold down the fort without you, and we'll see what happens. Yeah, we'll do it again next week, and we'll have a full bracket. And I mean, I hate to say this, it would take a couple of plane crashes for Texas to get in this thing, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, they need a Georgia blowout win and a Duke win, and yeah.
Well, wait, give me the scenario. So do you have we've got fanatical people all over the place. Have you had people literally lay out a scenario that they believe Texas can backdoor their way into this thing?
That's the only hope.
Okay, so give it to me again.
A Georgia blowout win where Bama looks like they're just falling apart.
Yep.
And a Duke win over Virginia.
Yep.
And then
you got to have BYU lose.
Got to have BYU lose. Yep. BYU lose. And then you got to hope that all the politicking sinks in with the committee and they say, you know what, Texas should be ahead of OU. They beat them head to head. Well,
look, I will never be on this committee, but if you were to stroke me a check from that Texas fund and you were like, hey, man, I'd have them at number 3. I'd be like, look, I know they got 3 losses, but this damn team is tough. Everybody can be bought, right?
Oh, man, that's the word. All right, buddy. Let's do it again next week.
Okay, see you, boys.
Appreciate All right, it. There he is. Lance Taylor. Go to lanceslock.com for the picks. All right. Hey, everybody head over to Cover 3. Enjoy the social hour menu and check out the audio visual consultation TVs in Cover 3. Get the Sean Adams prime rib sandwich. And if you're ready for the big screen of your dreams, call 255-8678. All right, Zay, we got 2 minutes. You got anything else from the right call?
Yeah, I want to talk about the Chris Paul situation because Chris Paul was sent home by the Clippers yesterday, and basically that's just cut, gone, released. Yeah, what are we doing if we're the Clippers? We're one of the worst teams in the league. So a guy that has proven himself to be one of the greatest point guards of all time, I get it, he doesn't have a ring, but he's one of the greatest players of all time. So if he is holding guys accountable, like Kawhi Leonard, like James Harden, and even coaches like Tyronn Lue, and they're out here losing every game, I don't care what he's averaging this year. He deserves respect, and he earned the right to question guys and hold them accountable. Now, I know Chris Paul, he can be a little bit much. Like, you see him, he gets in guys' faces. He's very
little general.
Yeah, little general. Does he have little man syndrome? He might have a little bit. But, again, he's one of the greatest of all time. So if he has to tell James Harden, hey, your fat ass ain't playing hard right now. Sorry, James. Play harder. Hey, yo, Kawhi, man, we know you stealing money. How about you do a little something, Kawhi? Gotta do a little something. If he tells Tyronn Lue, I don't care if you coach LeBron or not, that's really the only reason why you got the ring that you do. Let's keep it a buck. Then he has to let Tyronn Lue know. So kicking him off, say what you want about Chris Paul. I know a lot of people don't like him and stuff, but I thought that was trash. So, yeah, there's that. Let's get to Open Gym.
His chance for a ring evaporated when the NBA killed the trade of him from the Pelicans to the Lakers.
Had to be
I
done.
lost all respect for Ty Lue when he got stepped over by Allen Iverson. Ever since then, I've been like, this
That was gangsta. All right, have y'all
This dude is
seen
weak.
the P. Diddy Netflix documentary yet?
No.
Oh my God. It is.
I genuinely could not care any less about. Look, the guy's in jail, great, but I don't want to see 50 Cent put together another "I hate this guy" video. He's done like 20 of them now.
Yeah,
that's why
Get
I
it.
love 50 so much.
It's all the people who used to work with Puff.
Look, as somebody whose name is Patrick Davis and had the nickname P. Diddy before him,
Ooh.
I was not a fan already. Especially then he drug that name through the mud.
Matt, I don't know. I don't know where you are. I just like good documentaries. This one is it.
Yeah.
I'll probably watch it because I love good documentaries. I'm not entirely sure I want to get into everything that he did, but I've watched worse, I suppose,
It's
in documentaries. So I guess we'll give it a shot.
It's 4 parts, man.
I know.
Dude, I'm ADHD, man. Give me it 30 minutes. 30 minutes is what my limit is for this.
Hey,
kind
give
of
me an
stuff.
episode of 2.5 Men with Charlie Sheen, right, Patrick? Come on.
Was LeBron involved?
Hey,
See
give me
you
a
guys
Spurs
later.
game. Give me a Spurs game every night.
Go Lions.
There you go,
Go
Jim.
Cowboys.
Welcome in to Open Gym here on Texas Sports Unfiltered. Myself, Patrick Davis, alongside Matt Galatzan of Texas Longhorns on SI. And of course, you, the third member of Open Gym. Text line's open 512-222-9328. And of course, over there on the chat, Facebook, Twitch, X, and on YouTube. Matt, yeah, I know everybody gets in it. I'm not telling you it's bad or anything else. I just can't do these 4-part slamming somebody documentaries that they make now, which I'm sure like P. Diddy's a bad one, but there's just so many documentaries that are like, isn't this guy terrible? And you're like, yeah, man, I don't need to put that much negativity into my life. I don't react to it the same way other people do. So I just can't do it.
The P. Diddy thing is so weird to me. Like, I'm not sure I want to dive into it.
Yeah, it's a weird one.
The dude bought a lot of baby oil and a lot of drugs. And
yeah, no, he seems like a garbage human. No, he seems like a garbage human. All of that. He was the least talented, famous person from that era of rap. We can tell that he'll always be like, man, look at all these great people. And then he would do something. And you're like, oh, so I just can't watch 4 hours of it. It's too much for me. Maybe they're half hours. Maybe it's only 2 hours. I don't know. I haven't seen it. I haven't Netflix in a while. It's one of those things that got cut and never got rebought yet. So at some point I'll probably get it, but I'm letting them stock up on like a bunch of stuff that I'd want to watch before I get back into it.
How about James Madison hiring Billy Napier? By the way, that just came out.
Wow, is James Madison in the Sun Belt?
I think so.
Okay, then we're good.
They're in one of those conferences.
We know he's Sun Belt Billy. So if he's
and Alex Mortensen's the new head coach at UAB.
Dude, when James Madison is sniping away coaches before Penn State, it is.
I mean, are you really going to hire Billy Napier at Penn State, though?
I don't care. They have a coach. They found somebody, and you are still just sitting there. Like the carousel is off. The carnival is shut down. They are loading up the rides, and Penn State is still trying to ride this carnival. It is nuts what is happening there. Like, if you're Notre Dame and you're a booster and a donor right now, aren't you also like, hey, so as soon as we find a coach, we're firing the AD, right? Like the day we find him, we're firing this AD.
And there is lots of coaching stuff coming out as we're starting this show, Patrick.
Okay, what you got?
Florida, I just recorded a podcast about a Texas A&M offensive coordinator hot board, and 2 of them have just been hired in the last 5 minutes. And I haven't even posted that podcast yet. Buster Faulkner is the new offensive coordinator at Florida. He was the offensive coordinator at Georgia Tech with Haynes King.
Okay.
And they have one of the best offenses in the ACC. Really, really good, bright mind. He was at Georgia for a couple of years as a QB coach and an offensive quality control coach. So that's a good hire for them.
Yeah. Plus, helps you get into Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Recruiting wise, I always want to hire those guys from Georgia. I didn't see if he actually hired him. I saw that he was talking to him and he was a candidate. I didn't see if he actually hired him yet, though.
Yeah, I believe he's going to get that job, which is awesome because Brennan Marion is a hell of a football coach. His offense is really exciting. We stand the go offense here at on Open Gym.
Oh, hey man, Rod Babers turned me on to all that and showed me his stuff, and I went back and watched some of the film, and it's Brennan Marion's. He's a dude. He's a dude. So hopefully he will not get caught up in the Dion craziness and will not tarnish his career at all. I know Brennan Marion was the one that was maybe on the hook for the UNLV player that said he was promised money and then promised NIL that didn't come. And there was a thing of like he was promised it by a coach, and the way it was insinuated that it was like one of 2 or 3 guys, and Brennan Marion was one of them. And you're like, but then they were good without him. So that story just disappears when you're like, oh, he's good without him. Yeah, and CB, Brennan Marion, he loved him there. I don't think it quite clicked at Texas. I don't think it ever really clicked the way it needed to, but I think that's partly because Brennan Marion wanted to do his own thing, and he wasn't able to do his own thing here. So he didn't necessarily bring all the principles, and I think there was maybe a little bit more talk about him being more in the active game room at Texas, and when it wasn't, maybe that was the reason why he was ready to take his exit, go try somewhere else to go be an OC and try and get his vision out there a little bit more. But I do. Brennan, that go offense is really entertaining. It's one of those ones that you're like, you don't necessarily want if you're a Power 4 school necessarily. Like, I don't know if this would work against great coaches, but if you're a little bit lower and you're not, if you're not one of the 15 teams that's constantly trying to be in a playoff, 15, 20 teams, I think the go offense is great, and then let him figure it out a little bit more, and then go try it with a stacked roster. Which, by the way,
he's a great recruiter too.
Have we seen any news about Chris Henry yet? Or is he still waiting?
So I wrote a story just in case. I don't think I'm going to be able to run it though. I'll put it that way.
Well, I don't think he's coming. Because it feels like the whole deal is right now, I still want to go to Ohio State, but you all need to figure out who's coaching me.
I think he's going to end up at Oregon.
I mean, because that's from everything you've seen. Like, the reason he hasn't already jumped to Oregon, it feels like at least Ryan Day's, but like the entire Ohio State thing of just like, we've had a bunch of good wide receivers. It's just like, cool. Brian Hartline was there for all of them, wasn't he? And he's not there anymore, is he? So that's the reason I wanted to go to, was to work with Brian Hartline. If he's not there, you have to tell me who's replacing him.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to get somebody that I want to work with. And it feels like that was kind of something that was hanging in there, was that this was a very much more, not necessarily the bag or anything else. It was, I want to work with Brian Hartline. And if he's not there,
it looks like he's heading to Oregon.
Okay.
At least that's what he was bombed to earlier today, which maybe that means that Jalen Lott, who signed his letter of intent but did not send it into Oregon, could have second thoughts, because they lost Will Stein as well, kind of in a similar situation to Chris Henry with Ohio State and Brian Hartline. So maybe he's back on the market. Here's what I think would happen.
But also, I think Brian Hartline the wide receivers coach before he was the OC too?
Mm-hmm. He was.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like, I think it's a really big deal.
Yes, it is a very big deal. So if Chris Henry had come to Texas, which I don't think he will, I think they probably would have been good with not going to the portal for a receiver. Now that he's probably going to Oregon, even if Jalen Lott opens things back up and ends up at Texas, which would still be kind of a long shot, I think they would probably do a portal receiver. Because Chris Henry is more ready to go right now, and Jalen Lott's probably a little bit more of a project. But you'd still love to get him. Don't get me wrong.
Exactly. And we want to get into a little bit more today, since we did see National Signing Day. I want to talk with Matt a little bit more about what positions, because we did a bit about 2 weeks ago about all the pieces that Texas may need to get in the transfer portal. That feels like it's a little bit updated now with National Signing Day, with knowing what's coming in, with knowing how we finish the season. All of those pieces feels a little bit more to get to where we need to be at. But this is but first, before we get there, there's a couple pieces I want to hit before we get there. We're going to talk Texas basketball in just a couple seconds, because that game was not good. Not good, Matt. Not good is the words I'm going to use to describe what Texas basketball was last night. One of those ones that really makes you think, boy, are we, is this over? Are we already done? This season's already kind of a wash, but I don't want to go that far yet, but it made you feel a little bit more like that. But first I want to do, because we are a pro bashing Hugh Freeze show here at Open Joe, did want to see that Hugh Freeze did an interview, a sit down interview at an Auburn source. And part of what Hugh Freeze had to say was, well, I don't just want to bash Jackson Arnold, but one of the reasons I'm not there is because Jackson Arnold couldn't make the throws. And Jackson Arnold couldn't do this. And Jackson Arnold couldn't do that. And Jackson Arnold. And I just want to go on the record saying, if you're a head coach of young men and when you get fired, you blame the guy you brought in and you told everybody was going to save the day, it's still your fault. That's why you make a lot of money, is to be the coach, to go do it. And if I saw that afterwards, I'd be like, no, first of all, I would never let a kid play for him. I would just be like, no, I would say never go play for that coach because he will throw you under the bus in a heartbeat. And then two, also, if I'm at school, you're like, why would I ever hire a guy who cares less about football than golf, which we know, but he also cares less about football than bashing these students, because that's insane to me.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think anybody has been more on the record that Hugh Freeze is a piece of human garbage than I, at least as of late. This is totally on brand. He's not the kind of guy to take responsibility for his own mistakes. He's going to throw the blame on a 20, 21-year-old kid who he didn't put in a good position to succeed because he had a really bad offensive line around him and he had 3 different guys calling plays. And it was just a jumbled mess from the beginning. You brought Jackson Arnold in because you thought that he was going to help you. So just because he didn't work out, just like he didn't work out at Oklahoma, that's on you, buddy. You're the quarterback guru, supposedly. You're the guy that's supposed to make these players better. And now you just want to shift the blame to somebody else when you're spending every single Friday at the golf course instead of preparing for your next opponent. When you've been, even before Jackson Arnold, a terrible head coach at Auburn for your entire tenure. You completely put Ole Miss in a garbage can when you left. Like, you're not a good head coach. You were a hot name because you had a cool story with Michael Orr back in the day with Ole Miss. And the simple fact of the matter is, he doesn't deserve to be a Power 5 head coach or a Power 4 head coach. He's a low-level guy that succeeds against bad competition, and placing the blame on a 21-year-old kid for your career failings, especially over the last 4 years, is on brand, but it's extremely slimy. Yeah. And I'm not surprised.
No, it's very, very slimy. And it's like, if you wanted to say a coach goes after a quarterback that was on the roster when he took over, it's still slimy. But you're like, I get more of saying, man, I didn't have a shot at it. That, like, if Sark comes in and he goes, Hudson Card and Casey Thompson weren't my guys. And so that's why we had a down year. It's still slimy. I still wouldn't like it. But when you're like, you picked him. You picked Jackson Arnold. You picked this guy, and then at the end of the day, you come back out and make it that it's his fault. The reason you were fired is because of the quarterback that you went with. Just terrible, just awful. So I just want to bash Hugh Freeze a little bit more, because we just want to make sure everybody knows
that, man.
If you're ever in the position to hire a coach, just wipe that name off. It's not doesn't need to be there. You can take that resume and file it in the trash can. That's where you can file that resume.
He needs to go back to coaching women's basketball at a high school is what he needs to do.
I don't want him to ruin those young women's lives.
No, he was good at that.
Yeah, but that was Hugh Freeze. Also, something awful last night was Texas men's basketball, Matt. They took on Virginia, and things went poorly quickly. And at the end of the day, they were basically, from almost the tip-off to the end of the game, thoroughly outplayed. Their defense looked as bad as this defense has looked in years. It's the offense can't do anything because if you can't get rebounds, this offense doesn't really work. They ran a press, Matt. This is their entire press for Virginia. This is their entire game plan. Is they know teams want to go fast, right? So all they do to press is put a guy to stand in front of your point guard. He's not playing him tight. He's literally just making it so he can't run right past him. And you could run right past him. He's going to foul you, or you're going to get past him, and you're going to be running. And every time they did it, Texas inbounded, held the ball, and then started to slowly go up the court. And you're like, you guys don't have a half-court offense. You cannot do this. You have to try and move the ball up the court, even if it's off an inbound. And just the complete lack of any awareness of what was going on. Before we get too far into it, I will play you of how bad it was would allow for these two clips I'm going to play. First, I will play you Sean Miller, a clip of his opening statement after the game, describing just how this one feels.
And I'll just say this, that we had no answer for them offensively, right? So, it's tough to judge our offense because we either gave up a made field goal or we fouled for a majority of the game. And when that happens, man, it's tough to get transition points. It's tough to be in the flow on offense when you're always taking the ball out of bounds or you're fouling like we did in the second half. Their offense overwhelmed our defense, and it's becoming a pattern with us. We're too easy to score on. We have to fix that. We have to be better. We have to do things that we're capable of doing to fix, and we have to have just more of an inner fight and toughness on that side of the ball to be able to defend the shot, challenge the shot, rebound the ball, defend the man in front of you. A lot of where we go from here starts with that word, defense. And, we had 7 turnovers, a couple just crazy turnovers, but, man, I'll take 7 turnovers every game that we play this year. Our problem wasn't as much there as much as it was just overwhelming how they destroyed our defense. Some of it is to their credit, and some of it is just this is a moment of truth for our season where we have to be able to learn from it and improve that part of our team.
So there was Sean Miller in the post game. This is a moment of truth for our team that we have to figure it out. Here is Jordan Pope in the post game. Actually, I don't quite have that one yet. Give me a second to pull that one real quick. But that is Sean Miller telling you we were dominated. This is becoming a trend. These are the types of things that Texas is going to that we have to figure out. When you say we have to fix the things that we can fix, lets you know how many things you can't fix that you don't know if you're going to be able to fix. All of that is not good. Here is Jordan Pope after the game and his statement that he wanted to make.
I can finish with something, Scotty Matt. I just want to apologize to Longhorn Nation out there if they're watching this. We'll be better. Appreciate you guys coming out to support us tonight. This was a big game, and we felt as a team, as a group, that we let you guys down, and we'll be better moving forward and, continue to support us, continue hanging there, and a lot of good things moving forward.
So Jordan Pope felt the need to apologize to Longhorn Nation because of how bad that game was. It was from beginning to end watching one team that knew what they were doing, one team that knew the game plan and could execute the game plan, and one team who couldn't hit a shot in the first half to save their lives. They ended up 4 for 19 from 3. They couldn't do anything offensively through that. So then they start throwing it into Voikatitis, who's 2 for 7 in this game. Can't get anything going his way either inside because they had a big 7-footer, which you're going to play more of in SEC play. So Voikatitis starts to look not like the guy he's been earlier in the game. Had some shots that probably should have gone and didn't go. Jordan Pope plays 27 minutes in a game where you're saying we can't stop anybody. I don't get that. Kendall Weaver is okay, but once again, Kendall Weaver maybe not getting the run you would expect for a guy who's playing pretty well last season and now feels like he's taken a step back. And I don't know how much of that's an injury, how much of that is Sean Miller's coaching, but Kendall Weaver doesn't look like the right guy anymore that he was, where you were like, if he keeps progressing, he could be a really good player. And now he's, a bench player on a bottom SEC team. And that's not really what Kendall Weaver was supposed to be. He was supposed to be playing better, but for whatever reason, he doesn't fit into what they're doing right now very well, defensively or offensively. And it's way too early, man. Way, way too early to say doom and gloom, season's over, mail it in. Because you can't trade players. You're not tanking for a draft pick. There's no reason to not keep trying to go win games. I will say I will be surprised if we are not a bottom fourth of the SEC team. Because I think the line between player roster construction and what Sean Miller wants to do not intersect almost anywhere. And I'll go back to what I said before, which is I know we're bringing in Bo Ogden, but at a point you have to go to Chris Ogden and go, hey, you have really screwed this roster up. You have gotten a lot of guys who cannot play consistently whatsoever. You have guys that are great one day and then terrible. Are you only watching highlights? Are you not watching the lowlights? Are you not watching the reason why these guys are available? Are you not watching the stuff of all the games and trying to figure out why? Why did that guy have a game where he shot 1 for 8 from 3? Why? Let's figure that out, because if we're taking up at a higher level, we need to know what his downside is too. And it just doesn't feel like Texas did that enough. And there's just some of these players. I think there's still some young talent. I think there's guys who are going to play better. Dalen Swain is somebody who still, led you in scoring last night with 15. Like, that's a guy who's still believing that he's going to be a better player as he continues to go. But, like Cam Heide, there's a reason why he could never start on Purdue. They wanted him. He's a good bench player. He's not really a starter. And I mean, I like Cam Heide, but he hasn't shown me yet that he's a starter. He had one really good game. Then he's been wildly inconsistent. He's turned the ball over. He's, been erratic on the field. His defense isn't necessarily at the level you'd want it to be. I thought he was going to be the better defensive player. So you just look at this roster and you say, unless they can find somebody to be a consistent piece on this team, they're going to lose a lot of basketball games. Because you can scheme all you want and try and do everything else. But if we are living and dying on, if we shoot 50% from 3, we'll win. If we shoot 20%, we will lose. We're going to lose a lot of games. And that's kind of where we're at right now. We beat NC State. We shot lights out basketball. And that's how we won. And it's not the Rims, because they shot over 50% for the game. They shot 50% from 3 in the game, 12 to 24. It's what Virginia shot against us. It's not like the Rims were not being cut, it's not like Moody Center is so bad. It's just not being prepared to play in that game. And I think there's still a chance. I think we can win games, because if they get hot, they have Tremont Mark, Jordan Pope, Cam Heide, Modest Voikatitis. Even to a lesser extent, Kendall Weaver are guys who can get hot and put up points and really have a huge game. But if they don't for this Texas team, then every single game is going to be a really hard game. Because if those guys start missing shots early, I don't know what you can do. I genuinely don't know what he can do, because the system is not set up. The system is set up to run and gun for the offense. And if you can't stop anybody, you can't run and gun. And if you have a point guard who can get stopped by a one-man press over and over and over again, that ain't your point guard to run a fast offense. You have to push the ball. You have to try and get down, and they just haven't been able to do it.
Yeah, it's obviously very disappointing. This is a game that you really needed. You needed a quality non-conference win to stack on top of that NC State win, and you had a little bit of confidence coming in, because it seemed like the matchup was going to be run and gun both ways.
Yep.
I'm not necessarily doom and gloom, because it's year one. I'm probably a little doom and gloom for this season, for sure.
Yeah, no, I agree. By the way, I'm not saying Sean Miller long-term will be a failure. I don't want to put that on him either. Not saying that. I'm saying this season, manage your expectations that 9th in the SEC is probably one of 12th in the SEC. 12th, 13th is probably about where we'll end up.
Yeah, and you can see some of the promise in this team at certain points. Like, this is a team that led Duke at halftime.
Yeah.
This is a team that beat North Carolina State. who had, Arizona State, who I know isn't a power, but they're a power conference team. You looked like you had them beat for a while, and then they came back and got you. But it is disappointing. It's very disappointing because, Jordan Pope is supposed to be one of your best players. That's why he was brought in from the beginning. He was supposed to be this electric offensive player that could light it up from three. And if a 5'9", 5'10" point guard can just get up on him on the press and slow him down, and it completely derails your entire offense, that's a problem, because there's a lot bigger point guards in the SEC who are more athletic and can do a little bit more than that guy can. So, I don't really know where they go from here. I never really thought that Kendall Weaver was a starting caliber player. I always thought he was better off the bench, but it seems like he has taken a step back regardless. Thank God that Sean Miller's recruiting well, because whatever they're doing in the transfer portal is not working. I mean, Matthysse was a great find.
Yeah, and I'll be saying, like, he's recruiting decently, but he's recruiting a lot more of these dudes. He's recruiting a lot more dudes. It's like you have to have somebody that can take over a game, and they don't have it. And if they don't get it next year, they're not going to do that well again. Like, you have to have somebody that we go, that's our dude. And right now it's Dalen Swain. Dalen Swain's our dude, and he ain't ready to be that dude yet.
Yeah. I mean, you got to go out and find somebody. You're never going to find another Trey Johnson.
No.
But you got to go out and find somebody who can take over a game at any given moment. The unfortunate thing is, unless you really commit to doing that at Texas, it's going to be really hard. And I know that they hired a new coach, and I know that they, said they were going to spend a certain amount of money and all this stuff, but it doesn't really seem like they're as committed to the basketball program as they need to be if they really want to be an Elite Eight Final Four contender. I don't know if Texas is ever going to be that. Sean Miller gives them a really good chance, but you got to get them the right players.
You got to get the right players. But that's the thing is, I feel like this is the reason why I bring up Ogden, because I feel like the strategy has been for Texas, well, we can't go get the big name. We can't go get that one dude because he's going to cost us all of this money. So what we'll do is we'll spread that money around and get 8-9 guys who are all good players. The problem is 8-9 guys, when they have a night like last night, you're going to lose a bunch of games, because you need somebody like NC State where Jordan Pope went off. You have to have somebody go off, and you're just going to miss too many of those games where somebody goes off. Those mismatches are going to be happening. So at the end of the day, you have to kind of go in there and go, man, we need 5 or 6 guys. We need to recruit better of bringing in some guys and keeping those guys, which hopefully that is what the Sean Miller era is starting, is keeping some of these guys more long-term. I know he's trying to bring in shooting as well, but trying to keep those guys closer to it, and then being able to go get the big name and go get somebody. Go get me one NBA talent. Just one, man. I just need one NBA talent on my team. And Matthysse is 7 foot, so he could be an NBA talent in 2 years. He ain't it right now, but he could be in a couple of years. Dalen Swain could be in a year or two. I don't think he's there yet either, of guys who could make a roster right now in the NBA. But you have to have somebody that can make, in the draft next season. And if you don't have that guy, I don't know if you're going to be able to get there, especially not in the way Sean Miller's running this team right now, because he's not playing the gritty, hard-nosed defensive team. He wants to play offense, and you need stars to play offense. If you want to play defense like RT, you can win some more games, because you'll just be gritty and you'll just go down there. And now some teams will overpower you, but you'll be able to win more games because of playing defense. That's what Chris Beard has done. Wins a lot of games, plays gritty defensive, and then figures out the offense later. Sean Miller wants to play offense. It's fun to watch, but you better have the players. And they just don't have the offensive players right now. Hell, 2 of your players are more known for their defense than their offense, in Dalen Swain and Tremont Mark. So
I'm sorry, I was just really thrown off by that comment in the chat.
Yeah, it's a weird one.
What were we talking about? No. Yeah, I mean, look, you're going to have to change your philosophy if you're going to win games this year, because you simply do not have the personnel to run and gun at a consistent basis. I do think they have the personnel to slow it down and play more gritty defensively. Dalen Swain's got a lot of length. Cam Heidi's a big guy. Matthysse is obviously very big. Tremone Mark can do that kind of stuff. Kendall Weaver obviously excels defensively.
Lucina Traore played decent defense last night. Like, you have some dudes on the roster who can play some defense, but you can't try and play run and gun and do all that and trying to run, trying to have Jordan Pope, play 27 minutes of the game when his offense isn't working. Like, you can't leave Jordan Pope in if his offense isn't working. Like, that's the biggest problem. And I know he wants him to be a leader. I know he wants all those things, but it's like, if his offense doesn't work, he's a net negative on the court at all times.
So here's the risk that and you can tell me if I'm wrong here, because you're more of a basketball guy than I am. But here's the risk that you run, I think, if you change your identity. In year one, you're trying to teach these guys how to run your system the way that you want to run it. So if you all of a sudden make an identity change and change your philosophy on how you're going to approach this season, I feel like that could have a negative long-term effect down the road with these players and their development within the system that you would like to run. So I guess you kind of have to decide, are we just going to, run it the way that we want to run it and see what happens and continue to develop these guys for this system? Like talking about a Dalen Swain and a Matthysse and some of the younger guys on the team, or do we make a philosophy shift and then get back to it next year when we get some more players that are, more of a fit for this kind of offense?
No, I look, I'm with you. I agree with you 100%. You cannot sit in there and say, because you're also not going to all of a sudden be a good defensive team and slow it down. And you're just not going to be able to do that overnight either. I just say, though, when Jordan Pope is 0 for 5 from 3, 3 of 8 from inside the arc, and he can't play a lick of defense, and he's missing assignments, and they're hitting threes on him, and then he can't even push the ball up the court. He cannot push the ball up the court. Look, I'll take everything else if he can be the point guard who pushes the ball up the court. But if I'm literally taking Jordan Pope as a guy who's a defensive liability, he's missing his shots offensively, and we're getting the ball up the court and their offense running with 17 seconds on the shot clock, that I'm done with it. There's you're not doing anything right. And I know you want to give him time to get better. Give me Simeon Wilcher, because he might be here next year. And Pope ain't going to be. So I don't care to build up Pope anymore. Like, that's all it is for me. Like, I get it. I get why Pope's in the game. I think there's a lot of matchups that work well for him. And if he's hot, play the hot hand. But you can't leave him in these games where he's just a net negative and he can't get the ball. He can't run your offense really, because your offense now, as he's coming up, and I get that it must be that Simeon Wilcher and no one else really understands the Sean Miller offense like Jordan Pope. That's the only explanation for him playing the amount of minutes he's been playing, is that he must be the guy that's running it within the system and running it down there. But overall, it was just a really disappointing game. You don't get another crack at playing a team like that for a little bit. I don't think, maybe till SEC play. So you're now kind of just in that waiting limbo of, I'm sorry, you do play UConn at UConn. Sorry, you do play that in a couple days, in a week or so.
Where are they ranked?
Number 5. So you're going to get destroyed there. So you play that one. That's not where I meant. Like, so we play Mississippi State on January 3rd. That's the first game where you go, okay, we're playing somewhat similar competition. And then after that, you play number 13 Tennessee, number 12 Alabama, and number 17 Vanderbilt. So, like, it's when I say we're learning, SEC basketball is really, really good. So there is a line in it, and I get it. I know, and see, I don't know what you mean by that. I listened to the Miller post game, and I know he said, about the apology and trying to set it up, but I don't know how much it was contradicting as much as it was just a lot of emotion, because they both were like, this sucks. We really thought that NC State win, we were going to come out, and I felt like it was just a lot of raw emotion. I will give Sean Miller credit. I preferred the guy to come out and tell you it sucked and you got destroyed than someone who's a little bit more political about it. And he was political in other parts of the press conference, but he was a little bit more blunt about it.
I would rather him come out and be like, we stunk and this is my fault and this is what happened and we can't continue to do this, than like the kind of stuff that I used to have to deal with Tim Jankovic, where he's just like, oh, we're in such a disadvantage and it's so hard because we can't do this and we have injuries and that or the other. Or Hugh Freeze making excuses because, blaming his quarterback in football. Like, you want a coach to come out and take responsibility, and you want your players to come out and take responsibility, and that's great. But what's going to come of that? Like, do you have to make a hard decision and make Jordan Pope kind of a, Jamal Crawford type, where he just comes off the bench in certain moments and tries to light it up?
I'm fine with Jordan Pope starting. It's just, if he's not playing well, if we see the Jordan Pope come out that isn't really willing to be tough, because again, that's one of those other things about it. How many times do we hear that? Mentally tough, tougher on the defensive end, toughness. Got to have that. And he's just not. And so for that, I need to see him. If he's coming out and he's not playing tough basketball, then you go, okay, I'm going to bench you until you do play tough basketball. And I think you bring more of that out of him. I just haven't seen, let me put it this way, in Sean Miller so far, I haven't seen a guy who's made players better than they are. And that was one of the things we were really, really hoping for when we got Sean Miller, was this guy's going to make some of our players seem better than they'd been. He's going to elevate these guys. And we just haven't seen that. This looks like the same team we saw last year, just running a different team, just running a different offense. It's really what it looks like.
And they got a big guy.
Yeah. But I mean, even 2 years ago, you're like, you still threw it inside to Dylan Dessou and stuff like that when he was there. And you still threw it when you had bigger guys, but it is what it is. It's like, it's a little different offense, but they don't look tougher. They don't look like they're built any differently.
Yeah. Jordan Pope kind of reminds me of a undersized, less athletic Tim Hardaway Jr. Like, some nights he can just come out and he's knocking it down and he's going to score 28 points. And then other nights he's going to go out and shoot 1 for 10 and have turnovers and be a liability. Well, and that guy can't be the focus of your basketball team.
Well, and that's the thing, is he plays really well on teams that allow him space at the 3-point line. He will dominate those teams. You play teams like this who have a shot blocker, and they will play you tight at the 3-point line, knowing that you have to go into the paint. And Jordan Pope just doesn't play well in those situations. It's not his fault completely. They lost last night. He just gets the brunt of it because he is a guy that you're like, that was a game you had to play well in, and you didn't.
Well, yeah, and he's the guy that has the ball in his hands more than anybody else.
Yeah. So, but it's really disappointing. They play Southern next week to start off here in Austin. They also play Lemoyne and Mid-Eastern, or Maryland Eastern, sorry.
Who are
coming
these
up
teams?
They're terrible, but I mean, I think there's like $3 tickets for those games if you want to go see them on the resale market. So you can go enjoy one of those games for a little bit cheaper as we get to winter break around, and the stands may be a little bit more empty for those after the last outing. But before the only other one, we play UConn. Look, if they show up at UConn and play a good, I don't expect them to win. If they show up in that game, I'll be thrilled. I don't even need them to win. I need them to show up, because they did not show up last night.
Nope.
And they know they didn't. And it was just bad. It was bad. All right. Let's talk about something a little bit more, maybe a little bit more positive. I don't know. Maybe a little bit more. But let's talk a little bit, Matt, about the Texas Longhorns football team. And, we said we're going to do this yesterday, of looking at the National Signing Day class, what they got coming in. And we looked earlier. I'm going to see if I can find this, because I don't have any of my stuff labeled that well. Let's see if I can figure out.
Hold on. Just real quick before we get into that, I need to tell you something that's funny.
Okay.
Do you remember the McNeese State boombox guy, the manager who would walk down the tunnel with the boombox that got the big NIL deal? According to reports from Scott Hughes, NC State student manager Amir Ora Khan has left the program following a lengthy NIL dispute with the university.
Good Lord. Oh, God. Oh boy. Oh boy.
You gotta love NIL. Anyway, continue.
Yeah. Look, again, name, image, and likeness should be a right. The fact that these people expect to be getting everything right away is a different part where they're like, oh no. And you're like, you know who doesn't get a ton of name, image, and likeness? Julian Champagny, a starter for the San Antonio Spurs. But he doesn't get as much because he's like probably their 7th best player. So they take other players in front of him. That's how it works. If you carry a boombox, probably going to give some of that money to some other people before you. And then you could get it. Like if they make a run and you'll make some money. But yeah, that's ridiculous. That is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I found it. I found our list of who's leaving and what we thought they needed. I want to go back through this and see if you've changed your opinion on any of these positions. Now that we know what we've brought in the National Signing Day, knowing that we've not maybe gotten some of the players we thought were coming in the class, what you look in that portal, because, all right, we had a safety. We had maybe a linebacker, a DB, maybe 2. We had defensive line, maybe 2, a running back, offensive, maybe an offensive tackle, a center, and 2, maybe 3 guards.
Go through that one more time. We had a safety, 2 corners, maybe a linebacker.
A defensive lineman, maybe 2. A running back.
Okay. Running back.
Maybe an offensive tackle. A center.
And 2 to 3 guards.
2 to 3 guards.
Okay.
Is what we had on our list of what we thought was a glaring needs for this team coming up next season after we saw the signing class. So let's start. If we go back through, we'll start on the offense this time instead of the defense. We can start on the offense this time. And looking at this Texas team and what they're going to need, we know the quarterback position is fine. We assume that only Trey Owens is going to be hitting the portal, which would mean you would then have Arch Manning, KJ Lacey, and Diabell, which you feel pretty good about.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't hate if they brought in kind of like a Matthew Caldwell type.
I wouldn't either, but I also really want KJ Lacey to be ready next season.
I do too. But in the event that they did that, I'm just saying I wouldn't be upset about it necessarily. I still think that you make KJ Lacey the number 2 and you still prepare him as though he's the backup and all those different things. But it'd be nice just to have a little break glass in case of emergency type thing.
Yeah, I wonder if you wait on that one, though, and don't just hit it. Because can't you, like, wait a little bit longer and get a graduate transfer or somebody like that still?
Well, yeah, like a Matthew Caldwell type.
Yeah, I think
like
you
really
wait on that one maybe a little bit. Like you wait past spring. And then you bring him, or you wait until like you kind of have a little bit more look at KJ Lacey and Diabell, and you go, do we need to bring, because you don't want to bring that guy in and then go, you're 4th string.
Yeah, I agree.
So I'm with you, though. I think if there is that right guy that you go, okay, well, we feel good about this. You're in the, maybe you just want a degree from Texas. So you're coming in the last year to get a degree from here, and you're probably never going to play. Because look, Matthew Caldwell played how many snaps?
Not many.
I mean, he made some great plays,
though.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you talk about snap usage and just importance of the snaps that he played, but he did not play a ton of snaps for Texas. So, he didn't play a ton, but he was very important to what they did. And you don't necessarily want to bring somebody in that you're just going, no, you're competing with KJ Lacey, and he's a mile ahead of you already. But I'm not opposed to that one. So then we look at the running back room, and now we know in the running back room that the big piece in the running back room is going to be how much does Texas, keep in that running back room? How much more do they lose in that running back room? Because Trey Wisner, you would assume is not going to the NFL. You would assume is not transferring, but you don't know. He's had he's had one really good season. He's had a decent next season. He may say, guys, there's enough interest. I'm going to take off on that one. So I don't know, but I would assume he wouldn't be one on the top of my list of everyone's looking at Trey Wisner and thinking that's the next dude. CJ Baxter, let me put it this way. I think you're keeping Trey Wisner or CJ Baxter. It would surprise me if you kept both at this point.
Yeah, I would imagine that CJ Baxter needs a fresh start somewhere.
Yeah.
It just hasn't worked out here. A large part of that is due to injury. I don't think it's mental with him. I think it's some physical limitations because of the injury. I mean, the guy blew his knee out. Like, it's hard to come back from that. So maybe that's been an issue for him. I wouldn't count on Trey Wisner being back either. I mean, I think that he's a really important part of this team, obviously, especially from a leadership standpoint. But in this day and age, like, you know, I don't know that he is the bell cow runner that this football team needs. So if he stays, he needs to be prepared to take a step back.
No, I get that. But I think that he was told that this year and then was still the guy. So
and how did it work out?
No, I agree. But I mean, like, that was more the offensive line, but he played better than CJ Baxter is what I meant.
He did.
Because he was clearly still the better back, where I believe going into the season, the thought was, all right, we're going to have to compete with CJ, and C4 is going to come and take your job. But that didn't quite happen. I could believe that. I think I would just assume you're keeping one and one's going to go. But you could be right. Yeah. Now, if you lose both, the conversation's easy. You have to go get a running back. I think that conversation's easy.
I think you go get one anyway.
But I don't know if you have to go. So it depends to me because, again, it costs a budget. And look, I'm like everybody else. I would love to have the $40 million roster that we just go out in the transfer portal and we're like, 3 million, 4 million, 6 million, 2 million, 1 million. I would love to be that team. That's not the reality. And a lot of these guys in the running back, you also don't want to get caught of taking Jaden Ott.
Yes. I just think that, well, for one thing, I think Derek Cooper is going to be RB1 from the minute he walks in the door. That's how highly I think of him. Kind of like CJ Baxter was before he got injured when he got to Texas. He was just RB1 as soon as he walked in the door. He got hurt. Jonathan Brooks took over. But I think that you have to go find a guy who was somebody that you thought CJ Baxter was going to be this year, meaning a guy who's big and bruising and can get you the tough yardage and who's more of a Najee Harris type.
Okay.
Because that's how Steve Sarkisian's offenses thrive when they have that powerful back. So I think it's a necessity at this point.
Okay. No, you know what? When you sell it that way, I'm with you 100%. So I don't know if you're talking about necessarily I think, so I'll put it this way. I think you have to have a complementary back where he may be the bell cow and the other guy may be the complement, but I'm not saying you're going out to go get the most dynamic running back in the college football. You're going to get you a guy that you feel can average 4+ yards per carry.
Yeah, you're going to find a guy who, when it's 3rd down and 3, even if your offensive line isn't necessarily playing up to snuff, he can go out there. He'll get you 4 yards because he's just going to move people and he's going to break tackles.
Okay, I'm with you on that one.
I feel like this running back room its structure needs to be reshaped. I don't think that all of these young running backs are going to return either. I would assume that James Simon comes back, but who knows what's going to happen with Christian Clark.
Yep.
Jarrett Gibson's already gone. So Derek Cooper's the guy that is going to be your one-cut, explosive, zone-running demon. And then you need to find a guy that can complement him in a way of power. And Derek Cooper has some power to him, but you need to go find Fluff Bothwell, like somebody like that. Yeah.
All right, CB, he may be the next head coach over there. So we can't go get him yet. He may be the next head coach at Penn State. Who knows? For Stan Drayton, the way they're going, they may run out of people by the time they get to it. And I was like, oh, you're the head coach now, Stan. But yes. Look, I think Stan Drayton was great too. I don't know if you're necessarily getting rid of your coach already because it's been 1 year, but who knows? If he's available,
there's an opportunity there. If Neil Brown is like, hey, come be my offensive coordinator, then you may have to.
That's true. Neil Brown did get his head coaching job in North Texas, so he could steal him, and you could have an open job, and you could bring back Stan Drayton. It could happen, CB. We found the path. I don't know if he'd want to come back. He was a lot higher in the organization when he left in 2021. He was an assistant head coach and a lot of things, so he may not want to step back to being kind of behind a hierarchy of guys who have been around, they may bring him in to be higher up in there and be another person. So I don't know. But that's an interesting one. You're right. Neil Brown getting a head coaching job. He could try and bring him back because that was a Neil Brown guy. That's a good call there, Matt. All right. So we look there, and I'm with you. You've convinced me, Matt. The running back we definitely need to still look at because it is – I like what you sold me of that type of running back. So I think would be really big to go get at this point, even though you do feel maybe you can bring back one of those guys of C4 or Trey Wisner. You're getting a really good young player. You have James Simon, you have Christian Clark, but you don't really know. It's kind of a grab bag there of you don't know who's going to be there and who's going to be, and you really don't have that hammer. And if you can get the hammer, then the rest of it, you can make work around it.
Mm-hmm. And, I also wouldn't hate bringing in a Keelan Robinson type either, but that's another conversation. That'd be like a cherry on top after you've already got.
It feels like that was what James Simon was supposed to kind of start to learn, right?
It does, yeah.
So I think that may still be, if he's still there, that may be something they
maybe
work
Ryan
with on
Niblett can kind of morph into that role.
Which, by the way, Ryan Niblett is a premier transfer portal guy for me right now that I'd be worried about. You're going to have to pay a lot of money to keep him because when you look around at guys like Zachariah Branch and Casey Concepcion and guys like that, where you're like, maybe I go find my spot in a different offense where it runs a little bit differently, where I can just go use my ability to be an electric punt returner and do that on offense. And that'll give me a way better shot to get drafted in the NFL than here, where I'm never really going to crack into what Sark's wants out of a wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
So I could see that, but we'll keep our fingers crossed. They keep him happy. He has been one of the biggest team players for Texas over the last several years. So, but that's one you have to kind of watch out for. Texas has other great athletes they can put at the punt return. They won't be Niblett, but you can have other guys like that. But that'll be an interesting one to see. Speaking of wide receivers, though, we know Ryan Wingo's got another year here before he can go to the pros. You expect the bag to still be there for Ryan Wingo to keep him and have him progress another season. Emmett Mosley can come back for another season. Where are you at on DeAndre Moore? What do you think is – you figure he's gone, staying?
I'm kind of 50-50 on it. I think he's a really good player, and I think he's one of the leaders on this team. But I'm not sure that it's working out the way that we assumed it was going to work out. And I think that maybe he could want a fresh start. I'm not saying he's going to go. I'm saying the possibility is probably there. And if I'm him, I consider it because I think that I don't think you have to worry about any of the young receivers. Jamie French, Khalil Lockett, Michael Terry, Parker Livingston. I think Ryan Wingo and Emmett Mosley are both going to be back. So if there's going to be a little bit of turnover in that room, I mean, I think you could lose Aaron Butler potentially, but I think if you're going to lose somebody in that room, it could be Demo, which would hurt in terms of, the culture in that room.
100%.
You got to find some space for Jermaine Bishop to play on this team next year. You want the younger guys like Jamie French and Khalil Lockett to get on the field more. So how does that happen? You probably have a mutual parting of the ways with somebody in that room that's complete understanding on both sides, and maybe that ends up being Demo. I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, and it could be too. Even though they're young, you could see a Khalil Lockett or a Jamie French or a Michael Terry, who are all really high recruits that maybe thought they would get a little bit more playing time this season. You could see one of those guys also be all right.
I mean, potentially, yes, but I think it would be. If I had to pick a receiver that was going to enter the portal, I would probably pick DeAndre Moore.
The one thing about Moore that I think the biggest guy telling him to stay is Jay Witt, I
don't know. I agree with that. I don't know that it's going to necessarily be his choice.
Okay. I get that. I don't think Sark would ever tell his best wide receiver blocker to leave.
Well, that's Emmett Mosley.
No, it's DeAndre Moore. It's still DeAndre Moore. Emmett Mosley's getting better at it, but it's DeAndre Moore. Is still the best blocker on this offense.
Well, I could argue with you about that, but that's not the point of this conversation. The point is, I think that so here's the deal. I think that like I said earlier, I think that if Chris Henry Jr. was going to be in Austin,
yeah,
you would be fine not going to the portal. But I think that now, if they end up losing DeAndre Moore or somebody else,
yes,
you need to bring in somebody.
Yeah,
and they could spend a good amount of money there because you need to find somebody who can catch, reliably. DeAndre Moore has had a lot of drops recently. I don't know that it's necessarily been there for him this year, and I hate that because I love the guy. I think he's an awesome player. But if a star wide receiver hits the portal and you think that he's a fit for your offense, then
we know they will, because they
will. They always do. He could be a casualty of that.
Yeah, and look, I could see it too. If they do lose Niblett as well, getting a wide receiver who is also can be a electric punt returner in the portal is also something you could look at and say, well, now we're spending that extra money because now he can do two things for us. I can believe that.
Here's another thing too. If Ryan Niblett leaves, which is certainly a possibility because he could get a big NIL deal somewhere, like a little bit smaller.
Well, he could be a everyday starter, like a starter somewhere else, and give himself a much better chance to make the NFL other than being a punt returner.
Yeah, but you have to think about the idea that Jermaine Bishop is going to be there.
Yeah,
and he very well could end up being one of the most electric return men in college football.
Could be. I agree with you. All right. Now, in the tight end room, it depends a lot on if Jack Endry stays or goes. If Jack Endry stays, we saw him have his big game against A&M. It never really seemed like it fully clicked this season. But if he stays, you probably stay with him instead of trying to go play that market once again and find somebody else. And you have some good young guys. Jordan Washington, Spencer Shannon kind of wasn't the guy we were hoping he was going to be this season. But Jordan Washington looked good at different points. Nick Townsend looked good at different points. Winston looked good at different points. So I don't know if you have to get a tight end unless Jack Endrys leaves. And if he does, you probably want to go get somebody.
I tend to believe that Jack Endrys will be back.
Yeah.
If there's a casualty in this room, I would imagine it's probably Spencer Shannon.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes. Michael Terry could also end up being a tight end at some point.
Yeah, puts on weight.
Yeah, I am operating under the assumption that Jack Endrys is going to be back, so I don't think you really have to do anything in that room.
Okay. And then that puts us on offensive line where how much have we changed in our thoughts about offensive line? Maybe a tackle, definitely a center, and 2 or 3 guards. Is that about where we're still at?
Yeah, I mean, I think that you're going to get back Trevor Gooseby.
Yeah.
Which is going to be huge. And I think you're going to get Brandon Baker back. You're going to get Andre Kojo back from injury. Nick Brooks is going to move back to tackle. So tackle is the position on the offensive line that I would be least interested in getting some help.
Yeah.
Even though it's an extremely important position, I just think you're going to be really good there still.
Yeah.
Because you were really good there this year. The problems were on the interior.
Yeah, Baker took a little bit to come on. Plus you get if you get who am I missing? Kojo. You get Kojo back. Yeah, if you're feeling pretty good out there.
Yeah. Guard is going to be, I think, and getting a guard is cheaper than getting a tackle. Yep. So guard is going to be a spot where you're still probably going to have to get 2 or 3 guys because DJ Campbell is going to be in the NFL. Cole Hudson's going to be gone. So you need to bring in 2 guys who can be starters and a third guy that could compete for a starting job or be a rotational guy.
Yeah.
So that's still probably the premium position that they need to attack. And then there's no guarantee that Connor Robertson's going to be back at center. And he was very up and down. I mean, he went through the senior day ceremony.
He did. He also was the one who wasn't he the one sitting on the goal line at the end that had the video with him and Taff?
Mm-hmm.
Which makes you believe he will not be back. But who knows?
Well, they're both Westlake guys and they're close. So maybe he was just sitting there with Taff as a friend.
Well, no, but Taff came and sat down with him.
Oh, I didn't see the video.
Connor Robertson was first sitting there and Taff came to sit with him.
Yeah. So, maybe he's gone. Then I think that you definitely have to go out and find a starting center.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly think you have to go get a center either way and compete with Connor Robertson. But yeah, seeing him sit down was it solidified it more of like, maybe he's like, dude, all I want to do is come back and but I don't want to come back if you're going to bench me. So you got to tell me now, are you going to get somebody else? Or are you going to play? That may be the conversation as well, which you may have already had. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I think we're sitting about the same there. So we did add in a wide receiver now to our list, but that's about all we added, right? That's all we already had? We just added in a wide receiver?
So I have maybe a quarterback if you...
Yeah.
1 to 2 running backs.
Okay.
1 wide receiver, maybe a tackle. 2 to 3 guards and a center. So it's basically the same with a wide receiver.
Okay. So we only had really one more player is the big one. The running back room is kind of playing it by ear of how many guys you have leave.
Mm-hmm.
That's more the one. If it's like, all right, if we only have 3 or 4 running backs, we have to get up to 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Like we have to add in some more depth because we know what happened a couple of years ago. Why don't we take our break? When we come back, we're going to hit that defensive side of the ball. We got Bama Bruce coming up in the 5:30, in the 5 o'clock hour as well. We'll keep going. We've also got to talk some Cowboys and Lions, Matt, because that is a huge matchup tonight now. One we did not expect to be a huge matchup has become a huge matchup. So we will get to all of that when we come back here in hour 2 of Open Gym here on Texas Sports Unfiltered.
Hi, this is Tom McKay, owner of Audiovisual Consultations, and all of us at Audiovisual would like to wish you and your family a happy holiday season. This time of year can get a little hectic, so we want to remind you to relax, enjoy the season with your family and friends, and give us a call at 512-255-8678 for all of your home entertainment needs. This is my favorite time of the year. I love the holidays, the music, the decorations, the presents, the whole darn thing. So this year I'm asking all you listeners to help make this a special holiday for everyone. Smiles are contagious and free, so let's give them away like the government gives away your money. Let's high-five strangers on the street, hold the door for people behind us, tip your servers more than they've ever been tipped before. Give to a charity, or hell, give to a bunch of charities. If someone does a good job, tell them they did a good job. Pat someone on the butt. Sing in public places just because it feels good. And as always, hug your kids until they beg you to stop. Watch some games with your friends and make love to your wife or your husband. I know there's some women listening too. You can still give us a call at 512-255-8678 if you'd like to get some cool electronics, but more importantly, have a great holiday season and a fucking awesome next year.
You see covert everywhere. That personal level of just feeling like it's a personal family interaction.
The customer service, it's impeccable. It's unlike anything I've ever experienced buying a car.
Over the 30 years that I've been buying cars from them, I feel like I know them and they know me.
Covert's done an amazing job of making me feel valued. If you purchase a vehicle and you want to feel like you're part of a family, join the Covert family.
Come and experience it for yourself.
Covert, born and raised in Austin.
BK here for OLIPOP. Man, this stuff is the game changer of all game changers. Their slogan is a new kind of soda, and that's exactly what it is. You get that same great soda taste, but OLIPOP is actually good for you. Inside of every can, a blend of 7 unique botanicals, plant fibers, and prebiotics. You're getting 9 grams of fiber in every can, only 2 to 5 grams of sugar, and man, the flavor is absolutely there. Classic soda flavors like cola, root beer, lemon lime, and Dr. Goodwin. That's their version of a Dr. Pepper, and some other great flavors as well. The grape, the cream soda, the cherry cola. It's all fantastic. I'm telling y'all, OLIPOP tastes just like the soda you grew up sipping, but with the added benefits of microbiome and digestive health support as well. Pick up OLIPOP at H-E-B, Target, Walmart, Whole Foods, and Costco all throughout the Austin area and the state of Texas. And head over to drinkolipop.com. Use the promo code TEXAS20 for a discount on your first purchase. It's OLIPOP, a new kind of soda.
Back here on Open Gym on Texas Sports Unfiltered, rolling into hour 2 here of the show. Myself, Patrick Davis, alongside Matt Galatzan of Texas Longhorns on SI. Of course, you, the third member of Open Gym. Text line's open, 512-222-9328. And, of course, over there on the chat, Facebook, Twitch, X, and on YouTube. Over on the text line, Matt, we've got Chan saying DeAndre Moore's food truck here in the ATX shall make him stay, is his belief that he has, since he has the food truck. The problem with food trucks, Chan, that you can hook them up to a trailer and drive them somewhere else. That's the problem with food trucks. Yeah. They're not the most standard place, but I have not even been to DeAndre Moore's food truck. I didn't know he had one. That's how bad
I didn't either.
So I was unaware, is where we go. And we also get a text that says, I think Jamie French is going to enter the portal. I don't know if you have any intel on that or not. There's always a deal of young wide receivers that are 5 stars that are guys that you like could be starters their first season, could play, especially the wide receiver position. They're going to at least have people in their ear telling them this Sark has screwed you up. He's the worst coach who's ever coached football. Never be nothing. He's a bum. And you should enter the portals because you can go out there and make more money. That'll be now, whether or not you listen to that guy, it's a different story. But that happens to every player who doesn't play.
Yeah, I mean, I never thought that Jamie French was going to be a guy that came in and played a lot this year. I think he'll be back. Maybe I'm wrong because this stuff can change at the drop of a hat.
Yes.
But
there's tampering, there's people going around, and it's, there's going to be big dollar signs thrown around, big promises, all of that stuff. It's hard to figure out where you're at. We also don't know exactly how all the coaching staff for Texas will shake out either. That also has effect on things, because if a Chris Jackson decides to leave for another opportunity, that changes your entire wide receiver room at that point. Because now, do I still want to play here? You just never know with coaches sometimes.
Just based on what I've heard, I think that all of the young receivers are probably going to be back. But
okay,
we'll see.
Yeah, I'm with you. I appreciate it. You got your ear to the grindstone there.
I'm trying
to listen out. We'll be getting into the Cowboys a little bit later. Bama Bruce going to join the show a little bit later as well here in the hour to the 5 o'clock hour as we continue on today. But let's get back into what we were just talking about a little bit, Matt, and looking at our transfer portal list we had made a couple weeks ago. We've only really added one wide receiver as a real thing we added, maybe another running back depending on needs there, but that's really, we already had a running back on our list before. So really the wide receiver is a new piece that maybe we don't feel fully committed, fully ready for what we have at wide receiver, but not a huge addition so far after National Signing Day. Now let's look at that defensive end. And this is the one that's a little bit more interesting, because you felt like as the season went on, that offense kept getting better and better, Matt. And you're like, okay, you started to see the positives. You start to see like Emmett Mosley, Jack Andrews has a good last game. You start to see a little bit more of that makes you feel okay about that offense and some of the pieces in it. But defensively, we saw all the flaws there at the end. And now we saw some good young players that maybe we weren't as sure we had on this roster, but we also know you're losing 2 monumental pieces of this defense in Michael Taft and Anthony Hill. And that is gigantic, because you had 3 pillars, and we're all assuming Colin Simmons is going to be taken care of very well to be remaining on this team for another season. We're all going to go ahead and assume that. But we know you losing Anthony Hill, losing Michael Taft, that is 2 of your 3 major pillars of what your main points of this defense are. And you feel like you maybe have to start to figure out, how are we going to rebuild that defense, and what is the next iteration of it? Is it trusting younger guys for a season where you really feel next year is now kind of the make it or break it? Arch Manning, can we get over the hump before people start to question, is Sark the guy? Or, that I feel like it's a big year next year. So when we start, go ahead.
I was just going to say, if there's 2 players on this football team that you don't have to worry about leaving, I think Arch Manning and Colin Simmons are them. Manning, just because I don't think it would be Manning like for him to leave. Colin Simmons.
Everything they have said about Arch Manning so far has been true.
Yeah. And in terms of Colin Simmons, I think they would drop a Brinks truck at his door before he left.
Throw him the keys. Here you go, bud. It's all yours. And Chris, there is a world. It's a 1 to 2% chance. It is a extremely small chance. So I agree with you. There is a chance that Texas is still in it, but it's very, very small. So we are discussing as if 98% chance is a thing. That's how we're discussing right now.
And Sooner Cowboys, he might be the next offensive coordinator there. So I don't think that's going to happen.
All right. Let's look at that defensive line to start off with here, Matt. Defensive end, the edge room feels pretty good right now. You do lose Ethan Burke. Maybe Colton Vasek wasn't 100% what you wanted him to be, but you hope that now if he can stay healthy, and it feels like he's going into the offseason healthy now, maybe he could take a next step. Lance Jackson, you're losing Trey Moore as well on that edge room, but Brad Spence has been playing well for you. You feel like you're hoping that you have a couple pieces in that edge room, not to mention you've brought in some more young talent there. You also have a Justice Terry who's kind of been playing at both positions a little bit. Do you think you need to add anybody in that edge room, which we know is an expensive room to add? Or is maybe if you just see a guy that you were recruited before, maybe you throw a guy in there and go, well, we'll go pick up this sophomore that we recruited and get it. But it doesn't really feel like we need to go hard at that room, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think unless there's like in this past cycle when David Bailey became available and Texas was in on him, unless there's like the elite edge rusher that comes out like that shockingly enters the transfer portal and he's like, I would like to come there. I think otherwise you're probably fine. Lance Jackson is going to be back. Justice Terry is probably going to be more on the edge than like in the Ethan Burke type role. I think Colton Vasek, we'll see. I'm trying to get a little intel on that, but my assumption is that he would be back for right now. Zena Zulu is going to be back. Colin Simmons obviously is going to be back. Brad Spence is going to be back. So unless it's some kind of elite guy that you didn't think that was going to be available, then I think that you're probably fine at the position.
Yeah, it just feels like, bringing in a couple guys as well to this class that you just feel a little bit better about, are you going to be able to have somebody, even if you don't go get somebody, you're like, well, you're bringing in Richard Wesley and you feel, okay, well, Richard Wesley's probably better than what we're going to get. And we're already spending the money on Richard Wesley. So let's have him, or Jamarian Carlton. You're like, we've got some edges coming in that you feel can at least contribute if you really needed them to contribute.
Yeah.
So
I think that Jamarian Carlton's probably going to end up on the inside.
Okay.
But Richard Wesley's 16 years old and he's already a freak of nature. So I think you're going to be pretty good at that position for a long time.
All right, then let's move to the interior defensive line, where this now becomes a huge question because you did miss on a couple of guys that in Rodney Cleveland and on Corey Wells. Mm-hmm. Now, granted, interior defensive line, you normally don't play true freshmen because you do need them to put the body on a little bit more. So those guys have to be really, really physical specimens or huge guys to play, much at all their freshman season, because you're getting guys that are usually like 6'5", 270, and you're like, we want you to be 320. But we don't want that to be 320 of you just eating ice cream every night. We want that to be able to put on some muscle and just be a little bit better. So if you come in and, find those guys now with trying to look at what you've got already there and, is Hero Canoe, is he coming back? Or is he stepping away? Is he going to the NFL? Is he going to try and transfer? I think that's a big piece. Cole Brevard is going to be gone. Travis Shaw is going to be gone. You do believe Murad Watson could come back. Alex January coming back. Behind that, Justice Terry again could play inside, outside where you're at, but it does feel like you probably want to bring in maybe one or two more defensive linemen still. That they don't have to be top level defensive linemen, but they have to be big guys, run stoppers, those guys, right?
Yeah, I would love to find another Cole Brevard. The thing is, with the current roster that you have, I'm pulling up the roster real quick. You do have some guy like I think Hero Canoe is probably coming back, which would be huge.
Yes.
So if he comes back, I don't necessarily think that you have to go out and find someone, because you do have some guys. Sorry, I'm pulling up the roster right now that are on the bigger side at the position. Josiah Sharma. Let me get to him real quick. I think he's like 350 currently. Alex January is probably coming back, by the way, so that would be a big win as well. Josiah Sharma, 6'4", 356 pounds, listed on the Texas roster right now. So he's a big dude. And then you go up to Myron Charles. He's 6'4", 319 pounds. Both of those guys were true freshmen this year, so maybe they can take a step forward. I think you probably want to see what you have with those guys before you make a huge investment. But if there's another Cole Brevard out there, it'd be really hard for me to say no. I wouldn't bring in 5 or 6 guys like they did.
I wouldn't do what you did. I would say you're at the point of kind of what they did a couple years ago with Jermaine Lole and Bill, what's his name?
Bill Norton.
Bill Norton, like that kind of guy, which is kind of cool. But like, just bring in some big, huge dudes. Bring those dudes in. I think you could do that for a couple guys, but those guys aren't super expensive either. Like they cost money, but they're not. You're not breaking the bank to go get the number 1 defensive tackle recruit or defensive tackle in the portal. You're going to get a guy who's like, look, man, you're a big dude. Maybe you played at a smaller school, or maybe you played at a school where you weren't ever going to crack the rotation because that's not what they do. Be a run stopper.
Yeah, and I'm wondering what the future holds for Murad Watson as well.
Yeah,
I would assume he's back because I thought he had some flashes of being really special this year. We'll see. I think I would lean that he's returning, but I don't know. If he leaves, then maybe you get 2, but I think one big dude that can stop the run, and then you hope that Josiah Sharma and Myron Charles can take a step forward, because then you got the 2 guys coming in with James Johnson and Jamarian Carlton who could be there, and James Johnson kind of seems like a guy who could play if you needed him to. He's kind of that explosive, twitchy defensive tackle who can get in the backfield. So I'd say 1 to 2, probably.
Yeah. All right. So that's where we were at before. So we're still on track on that. Now we get to that linebacker room, and we've seen Ty Anthony Smith step up. You assume he's back. LaFau, you assume, is back to step in and maybe take over that role. But you do need maybe a little bit more depth in that room, because you lose Anthony Hill, Trey Moore, who is now your, in case of emergency, break glass linebacker that came in, and in case of emergency at the end of the season. It feels like maybe there's a little bit more to be said in that linebacker room. Now, you did bring in a really good linebacker recruit, but do you really put all your eggs in that basket? Or do you go out there and say, let's go get one more big name linebacker? Or do you kind of get a couple depth guys? Where do you sit on the linebacker position, Matt?
Well, first things first, and I want to preface this by saying I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen, so I don't get clipped for this. I think that they're probably going to try to make a big push to get Anthony Hill back. I doubt that it will work, but it's possible. You never know.
Yeah.
I would operate under the
Is
assumption.
it ahead or below of our chances of making the college football playoff? I put that at 2%.
probably around the same.
The same.
I would imagine. So then you look at the linebacker room, and LaFau and Ty Anthony Smith will be back.
Yeah.
Brad Spence could play a linebacker role like Trey Moore did this year.
Yeah.
You're bringing in Tyler Atkinson, who I think could be a player from day one. You have Elijah Barnes in there, who I think they think really highly of. Jonathan Cunningham is in there. I don't know if he's going to be ready to play or not. I think he was going to be a bit of a project. He was a little bit undersized. So with all that being in mind, assuming Anthony Hill doesn't come back, say it's a 98.5% chance that he leaves, 98.7% chance that he leaves even. I think you go get one or two, probably two.
Okay.
Because look what happened when Anthony Hill went down this year. Anthony Smith is good. Leon Golofau is good. Trey Moore really, really helped, and he was good. But you were scared of the depth if something else happened. So I think you need to bulk up that room a little bit. And Rocky Cummings is coming in. He's a 3-star recruit, but there's a lot of optimism about him.
But yeah,
I don't know that he would be ready to go year one.
No, and not in a national championship run. That's kind of where you have to keep setting your mind. It's that kind of run that you're aiming for. But at the end of the day, I agree, because Trey Moore was the guy that they moved into that role, so they didn't have to get somebody else. And they were like, all right, Trey, we want to play you more, give you a little bit more versatility for the NFL scouts. I don't think there's that guy this year necessarily. I think you said right, Brad Spence could be that kind of guy, but I don't know if you really – I think if you're going to move Brad Spence and have him do dual duty, then maybe you do just go get one. But if not, you go get two. I'm with you. Just to give you a little bit more depth, which is only maybe one more than we've had. So we're still pretty close on there. Not freaking out too much, but here's where we get to the fun. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, what are the chances that Lane Kiffin goes into LSU and he's like, you're with my daughter, you're not going to be on my football team? It would be very Lane Kiffin.
It would.
So what if Whit Weeks hits the portal and you get to play at LSU next year? Who would want to do that more than Whit Weeks?
He would, but I think Whit Weeks goes to LSU or goes to Ole Miss.
That would be funny. That would be funny.
I think he goes there and he's like, oh no, I'm taking your girl and going to Ole Miss. It's going to be great. But all right, so let's hit that secondary then, Matt. We know Manny Muhammad probably gone as well. We know that you're looking at Jelani McDonald maybe not hitting the potential that you wanted him to be at this season. Or not Jelani McDonald, sorry. Jalen Gilbo. He'll be gone. Now, Cade Phillips definitely stepped up. We know that Grayson Littleton had stepped up. Wardell Mack, time will tell. Warren Robertson, time will tell, but neither one of them is necessarily giving you the greatest. Kobe Black had a big play in the game, in the A&M game, but maybe not the biggest name that you want. So when you look at what you got, where you're going to have to trust true freshmen in this role, or you're going to go out, are you saying you need two starters or one starter and then we'll piece it together, maybe one or two guys on the back end, depending on where you want to go. But you at least need one starter, it feels like, in the portal now. Do you need two?
I think Cade Phillips is going to be a starter for this team next year and the year after.
Okay.
So I'd be interested to see if they decide to move Grayson Littleton to the outside and play somebody else at star, even though I really like Grayson Littleton at star. I think you probably have to go out and get one. I'm still really high on Kobe Black. I think that him losing his position from early on in the season was good for him, and I thought he played really well against Texas A&M.
Yeah.
I'm not sold on the walking penalty that is Warren Robertson. Who's the other guy that you mentioned?
Wardell Mack.
Wardell Mack. I'm not sold on him either. You probably have to go get one.
I figure you have to go get one starter.
Yeah.
And the question is, what else do you get out of it? Do you go and try?
There's an interesting scenario in my head.
Yeah.
Where they move Grayson Littleton outside to corner like they did with Jahdae Barron. and they play either Jordan Johnson Rebel at star, or they move Jelani McDonald to star, and then that makes way for Jonah Williams to be a starter at safety. And so your starting safeties are Xavier Filsamy and Jonah Williams, and then you put Jelani McDonald at star. Or maybe you put Jonah Williams and Jelani McDonald at safety, and you play Xavier Filsamy at star. But I think largely it kind of depends on what you decide to do with Grayson Littleton, because I think he could be a really good boundary corner.
Yeah. Yeah, that is kind of the question. And for him, he'd probably rather go into that role and rather go into a role that is more NFL watch and in that role than maybe the star position. But we don't know. But that I think the big question, I still think you just have to go out and try and get one big name at that position. And then the rest, I'll trust what they feel in that room. But I want you to, instead of going out and being like, hey, we're just going to bring in somebody small, that's one where I want you to spend some money and go and put that on. Hey, man, we need to have somebody in here because we're losing a really big name. And maybe Cade Phillips could be a dude and Grayson Littleton could be a dude. We need to make sure we have somebody else that we know can come in and be a dude, for 16 weeks for us. And that's what you want to be able to see. Let's go in there and then look at that safety room then as we get to finishing up where we're at. This is the big one. Jelani McDonald played decently. Jelani McDonald is going to be, if he's back, we don't know if he'll be back or not, but he is going to be a big deal. Michael Taft is going to be gone, though. So you have to kind of figure that out. Now, we did see at the end of the season that Jonah Williams played a little bit more. Derek Williams didn't really look where he wanted to be. Xavier Filsamy maybe not fully where he wanted to be. How do you feel about that safety position now after seeing the last few weeks of the season?
I think there's going to be some turnover there. I lean towards Jelani McDonald coming back. Derek Williams is an interesting one to me because how does he do after going into the offseason fully healthy and maybe preparing to play in a starting role? Because he was really good as a true freshman. So could he get back to where we think that he should be, or is he going to hit the portal and try and get a fresh opportunity? I think Filsamy will be back. Jonah Williams, I think he's going to be starting somewhere on this defense. I mean, can you go out and find another Andrew Makuba?
I mean, that would be great. That would be fantastic if you go find that. But that feels like another one. They're just going to have to go find somebody that can come in. And like that one's big too the question is Dwayne Aquina back in his role next year? Because if he is, then that's one thing. If he's not, whoever you bring in, does he have somebody with him? You know what I mean? Is there somebody with him that maybe he's got maybe that's part of it? But I think you have to bring in somebody in that position as well. But that really is, at the end of the day, Matt, our list is not that different than what it was before of let's go get a safety. Let's go get a linebacker. Let's go get a DB, maybe two. Let's go get a D lineman, maybe two. Let's go get a running back. Let's go get some offensive linemen. And you threw in maybe a wide receiver. But really, wide receiver is the only position that you really felt you need to add somebody into.
Yeah. Let's see. 1, 2. So I've got it anywhere between 9 and 16 players.
Yeah, 16 is never going to happen. Let's see.
Probably not. But like that would be, worst case scenario, you lose some guys to the portal that you didn't expect to lose.
Yeah, I think we're looking about 10 is where I'm about 10 is where it feels is about right for me.
Yeah, I think it's going to be somewhere between 10 to 12 is probably what you're looking at.
Yeah, which is a little bit more than he probably want to do. And it depends how many guys leave versus how many guys come back. But that is always a question. And we'll know more about that as it goes on. And then we'll have to do this again once we know who's all in the portal. And you go, okay. But portal time is a crazy time to do a show as well, Matt. So,
well, I think that we're probably going to find out a whole hell of a lot about this on Sunday and the Monday and Tuesday after that. is when we're really going to start to figure out what ends up happening.
Because either Monday the 2% happens and we're just all a bunch of happy little kids coming to school on Monday, or Sunday happens and we have to face the stark reality that the 2% did not happen. You know what it is? It's 5:30 on a Thursday. That means it's time to bring in our SEC homer, who is, I think, happy about Alabama being in the championship game and maybe still anxious. My man, Bama Bruce Castleberry, coming on the show. Bruce, how you doing today, brother?
How y'all fellas doing, man? It's I don't know if I'm saying it's lucky to be an Alabama fan or they're still on the cusp over there, but everything I've seen, everybody's like, Bama's in, if they win or lose, as long as they don't get blown out.
Yeah, I mean, that is the huge question in the college football playoffs is, can a conference championship matter? And history has shown that conference championships don't matter, that they are not really considered as much in the college football playoff. They matter in rankings, but they won't knock you out. However, we have also seen them lie about a lot of other things that mattered this season. So we don't really know, because Notre Dame's ahead of Miami, and Miami has the head-to-head, and that makes zero sense. That makes the least amount of sense about anything, is that those two teams are next to each other and the head-to-head is losing in that battle. And then we look at the Texas in the conversation about your strength of schedule and playing 3 teams in the top, 10, or 4 teams in the top 10 and beating 2 of them. And then another team in the top 15 and beating them, but that doesn't get you over some other teams who maybe didn't play. You don't know. So I don't know what the rules and restrictions are. I can tell you this: Texas, or the SEC, will not have 6 teams in the playoff. So at the end of the day, it is either Alabama or Texas who is the 5th team, or there could be 4 teams. And you could get a lot of people that are basically there for every other conference, and they all team up to say the SEC can't get 5 teams in. So Alabama loses, they got to go. But if Alabama wins, they make the decision very easy for the committee. They have to be in. They're the SEC champs.
Well, what about James Madison? What if they win? It's like and then the ACC, the winner is 7-5. They're, the credibility is horrible, but because you're a conference champion, you get to go in there even with a horrible, strength of schedule, and or you won 7 and lost 5. It's like, I listened to Sark the other day, and he's giving it a big gung ho, and all coaches do, and I get it. But he said it's like the 10 Commandments are right here, and he said strength of schedule and head to head are the first 2. And he goes, if they go by that, then we should get in, with the Texas situation. But, are we going to go back to everybody gets a trophy? It's like, okay, James Madison, who plays, I know it's lower level, and I know we're trying to be cool. And it would be cool to see a James Madison beat an Alabama or beat an Oklahoma, in that situation. But it's unlikely, and it just seems like everybody's getting a trophy now, in those smaller conferences. And things it's got to spread to 16. It has to, and I think it's going to.
Well, I mean, I think that they're going to use whatever happens to Texas and Miami probably to use as a springboard to move to a 16 team playoff. But here's also, and I said this yesterday, I want everybody to think about this. If Texas hadn't scheduled Ohio State and their only losses were to Florida and Georgia, there is still no guarantee that you're getting into the playoff over Alabama, because they've beaten Vanderbilt, who you beat. They beat Georgia, who beat you. I know that you beat Oklahoma, who beat them. But they also have wins over Tennessee, who was ranked number 11 at the time. They have a win over Missouri, who was ranked at the time. Their resume is very even with yours. And at that point, it becomes a little bit more of an eye test, I would assume, if your resume is relatively even, right? So
Notre Dame.
Yeah. I mean, But specifically with Texas and Alabama, Alabama has looked far more consistent than Texas has all year long. So why would the committee not use that as an eye test, saying, well, they're just a better football team overall, which I don't necessarily think is true. I think that they're pretty evenly matched, but you're still probably or at least not probably, there's still a very good chance that you're on the outside looking in anyway.
I agree.
So it's really messy, and I personally, I don't want to move to a 16-team playoff. What I would rather them do is just eliminate the conference champion thing and say, okay, we're going to put the best 12 teams in the thing, and that's it. And if that's the case, then Texas is probably going to get in by the end of this thing. But they're not.
Well,
they're not going to do that.
So that's, with what you said, and I agree with that. Because, Kirby Smart, he was sitting there going, come on, A&M, please beat Texas so we don't have to go. I think even though he's like, no, we want to win it. And back in the day, this is where college football is going. That's the unfortunate thing, because it's taken away the beauty of the conference championships, because everybody's trying to get to the big win. When there was 4, hey, it's top 4 and that's it. And then there's 2. But now with the conference, those championships, dude, who doesn't want to win the SEC championship? That's what you strive for. And then because you won that big, the Big Ten, what have you, it's like it's like you get 2 trophies and you get the stature of beating these badass teams in your conference, whether it be Ohio State, Michigan, Indiana now, whatever that is. And you beat Florida, you beat Auburn, you beat, Mississippi State. Now, if you get to beat Texas or Oklahoma, I mean, it's stacked. And I think that is where it's going, like you said. But I think it's, again, tearing down the walls of the beautiful college, the beauty of what we loved about it is just tearing it apart.
Yeah, and I think the next step probably, like, I'm fine if they get rid of automatic qualifiers. That's awesome. I think the next step, what is probably going to be pitched, is the highest ranked team in your conference gets in, because that way Miami gets in for the ACC, and there's no chance a 7-5 Duke gets in. Because the problem with letting a 7-5 Duke in is the concept of losses matter, guys. Losses matter. They lost 5 times. They're in, because they didn't lose in conference, but they lost all their non-conference. They didn't beat anybody. And even if Virginia gets in, Virginia didn't play anybody this year. Their biggest game was Florida State. We know what Florida State turned out to be.
That whole conference is a pile of that,
And so there's one good team there. It's Miami, really. Virginia's decent, but they shouldn't be in the playoff. But Miami's the only decent team. And if you just said, no, Miami's getting in because they're clearly the best team in this conference. So the ACC will have a representative, but it doesn't, your conference championship doesn't matter, because in reality, Miami has the better win. So they're going to So I think that would probably be the easier next step, but we'll see. They want to keep the conference championships to matter, because there's a lot of money tied into corporate sponsorships into the conference championships. It's about money. It's not about football. It's not about our enjoyment. It's not about the players, the fans, or
all
the
day
game.
long.
It is about the money.
Here's what I would say then. If, let's say that you allow the SEC and the Big Ten to have their conference champions get automatic bids. You allow the ACC to do it. You allow the Big 12 to do it. There needs to be something in place where if there is a certain threshold that you have crossed in terms of losses, or you're not ranked above a certain point, then that automatic qualifier disappears for you.
Yeah.
So if you're 7-5 Duke and you win the ACC championship, you're still not going to get in because you're not ranked in the college football playoff top 25.
How hard is that? How hard is that for people to put that together, for Christ's sake?
Well, actually, Duke wouldn't get in, by the way. It would be the winner of North Texas,
but like
Tulane and James Madison. So Duke,
but that extends to my point, though.
Yes,
is like
exactly.
2 group of 5 teams, just because they're conference champions, should not get in, and you need to be ranked. I think that to make the playoff, yes, if you're in the top 15 in the SEC, you automatically get in if you're the conference champion. Top 15 in the Big 12, top 15 in the ACC, top 15.
I like that.
But if you're outside of that top 15 or that top 20 or whatever it is, you should not be allowed to be in the 12-team playoff, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm with you.
Wow, that's logic. That's a logical, and it's a logical take. Come on, man.
Hey, I'll tell you this: if Duke wins that football game, ACC is going to press hard for change because they're like, we just got knocked out. This is not okay anymore. We got to figure some things out. But we'll see how that goes. Let's, Bruce, look at some of these games happening on Saturday. We won't make you do the group of 5 games.
Hey, wait a minute. Are we? Is football season almost over, or what the hell is going on here? Last time I checked, I was happy. Now I'm like, what?
Well, hey, that's why you see me and Matt are just happy that my Texans and his Cowboys started playing decent football. So we're like, well, that's all we're gonna have to watch soon. So we're getting amped up about that. But at the end of the day, it is this is a push that we are getting to the end. Yeah, because you came over to the house the other day, and Vic and some other people came over, and he was just like, man, we got like 3 weekends of this left, man. We should enjoy it. And now this is the last big Saturday of games that we can sit from 11 to 3. But we don't get the multi-box anymore. You don't get a multi-box and put on all.
I mean, how many games do we get to talk about right now? Come on, man.
I mean, really, three. There's 3 big games because we don't really get to talk about Duke, Virginia, which, by the way, how is Virginia only a 4-point favorite in this game? Like, that tells you all you need to know.
ACC.
That tells, again, that's what we say at Hair of the Dog says, my thing. Vegas should pick the 12. Vegas picks the playoffs. They'll tell you the best matchups. It'll put the best games out there. But the fact that, you're playing a 7-5 team in Virginia, and they're still like, you should win, but not by a touchdown. Come on. You got to beat that team by more than a touchdown. Texas Tech's favored by 12.5 over the number 11 team in the country. Can't beat Duke? Come on now.
Dukey.
What do you think about BYU and Texas Tech? Texas Tech has kind of run roughshod. They had the one stumble against Arizona State before Arizona State, all their players got hurt, and they were not quite the same team anymore. But Texas Tech's run roughshod. They've looked really good. BYU, on the other hand, really hasn't played too much of anybody. Does not look like a great team. Texas Tech favored by 12.5 points on this one. What do you have?
Texas Tech, to me, is probably the team that did the most with being able to buy players. They bought them, and you know what? It's legal and it's all good, and they're a badass team. They really are. And guess what? It's like it'd be like Van Halen having 15 shows, and guess what? They had a shitty show on the 12th one. Everybody stubs their toe, and they stub their toe. Everybody does. That doesn't mean they're a bad team, and they're lucky that they have another chance with BYU, and I think they're going to put the wood to them. I really, really do.
Yeah, this feels like they're going to put the wood to them, Matt.
I think Texas Tech is going to win by 3 or 4 scores in this game.
Yeah, it feels like that kind of game. Now another one with a lower point total, but it should be. It's number 1 versus number 2. Indiana playing Ohio State. This feels like a home game for Indiana, though. There's a team that probably hasn't had to spend the money to travel. Ohio State travels, I know, but Indiana hasn't had a reason to travel in quite some time. The game's played in Indianapolis at the NFL stadium there at Lucas Oil Field. So it is not it's a drive. You don't even have to get a hotel room if you're Indiana fans. You can go get your
40-minute.
40-minute drive, get your tickets, spend all your money on your tickets, no flight, no hotel room. You can go in there and go check out this game. So it's going to be a very heavy Indiana crowd. There will be Ohio State people there. There always is. They travel very well, but it's going to be more of a home game for Indiana. Indiana's looked great, but they haven't played too many real games. The big scare against Penn State was probably your biggest one. Ohio State has looked unbeatable this season. Texas is the only team to play them within a score. So it's crazy to me to put Indiana within a score. I don't think for me, I don't see how it's within a score. Now, maybe Indiana has something up their sleeve and Signetti really gets it going, but just talent-wise on there, I know Fernando Mendoza everyone's all hyped up about him. he's going to have a hell of a game for 4 quarters, not just 2 like he did against Penn State to win this. Bruce, what do you think about the 4-point spread on Indiana and Ohio State?
First off, we're talking about Ohio State playing Indiana in a college football setting, and they're 1-2. That last time I checked, Indiana was a basketball school. Last time, I know Indiana when they play. I don't know much about Indiana. I know Ohio State because they did steal one of the best players from Alabama. I think that Ohio State, both of them haven't really, they play up there and they both play well. You're right. Is Ohio State going to be Ohio State? Is Indiana going to slip them up? In the whole college football playoffs, it doesn't matter as long as somebody doesn't blow somebody out. And the big, all that stuff up there, I don't know what to think. I know Indiana's for everybody except the scare, like you said, and then Ohio State. But who they played, like you said that. Who they played, Matt? What do you think?
I think Ohio State runs roughshod over them and they win by 3 or 4 scores. I think Ohio State's the best team in the country by a mile. And I don't think it's going to be close. And I think Indiana's going to end up hosting a playoff game because they get beat so badly in this football game. But real quick, Sooner Cowboys, I would not want John Matthysse to play against that Ohio State defense. I'm sorry, that would be bad.
Matthysse, man, come on, dude. That they got. Yeah, I'm just not a fan of that whole Oklahoma thing. They snuck by Alabama because they screwed up, and we won't talk about that.
So the way that I kind of look at the Big Ten is Ohio State is way up here, and then Indiana's like somewhere down here with like Oregon, and then it bottoms out. I just think Ohio State is so much far and above any of the other teams in this conference that it's not going to be close.
And they're healthy. Because that's the whole thing about both of those teams. They haven't played shit. Nobody's getting hurt, and they're healthy and ready to go. It's like, why don't you get your butt kicked week in and week out to bigger and blacker and more physical players, and run that gamut. You don't come out with a healthy team.
All right, that takes us to the SEC championship game. Georgia's favored by 2.5. Alabama has had their number recently, but this would be a 3 straight for Kalen DeBoer against Georgia. This is a difficult one. Georgia has looked better and better as the season's gone on. Alabama still hasn't figured out that run game yet. So there's maybe some weaknesses of this Alabama team. This is also played in Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia. It's always the home field that Georgia gets in these. What do you think about the SEC championship game there, Bruce?
Well, I'm going to start with the running game. They just got one of the baddest running backs recruiting, 5-star, which I was like, man, you guys in the portal, just get a 5-star running game. Get a couple of big bosses on the front and get a couple of killer running backs. You got everything else.
All you got to do.
That's it. But with that said, we talked about this. Law of averages says, and first of all, Georgia is playing very up. And Georgia is hot on all facets of the game. I think their quarterback is probably maybe the weakest link to me, my opinion, that he's kind of come down a little bit. But their running backs, God, if you watch these guys, they run like a bull in the china shop. And their defense is on point. Their edge rushers are crazy. And they got a passing game with homeboys along. Back to Bama on the other side, as we all know, they don't have a running game. Their O-line is, here and there. Wow, they did good. Wow, they didn't. And if you pressure Ty Simpson, he slips out of his deal, as we've all seen. He throws. He didn't throw any interceptions until the Oklahoma, or whatever game that was, and he's threw like 2 or 3. And I think Alabama's had Georgia's number, and as an Alabama fan, I wanted to win. And as a realist, I think that Georgia's going to, unfortunately, I hate to say it, but Georgia's going to win this game.
Well,
it hurt to say that.
Texas needs Georgia to win this game by 28 points.
Yeah, Texas' only hope is a gigantic Georgia win. I
don't think that's going to happen. That's not going to happen. They will.
No, that's why we're not putting Texas' chance of getting in very high. But they need Alabama to look like there's no reason to put them in the playoff. They need BYU to look like there's no reason to put them in the playoff. And they need Duke to knock Virginia out. So then the question, you want Virginia to win?
Well, because it doesn't matter. That game doesn't matter.
No, but you do because you want to make the ACC look worse.
They're already that bad.
You're trying to make the ACC look worse. Is the goal, because then you maybe can squeeze past Miami, because you have to squeeze past Miami at some point, and that's the difficult part. But
and they're looking good too. Miami's looking. I mean, they're trending. They're looking better now too. They came off hot, fell off, and now they're trending in the eye test, just like Notre Dame. Everybody's looking, and the eye test towards the end of all this seems to be the hell with the rules that the committee has. It's all about the eye test now. Who's going to look the best? But Notre Dame, what do they get to do? They just sit back, make the money. We ain't got to go play a conference game. We can just get healthy. And, they've looked really, really, really good with that badass Love running back of them.
All right.
But, just real quick, back to the Alabama-Georgia game. I'm not going to pick Georgia to beat Alabama until they prove to me that they can beat Alabama. Because Alabama owns Georgia. Straight up. I don't think Alabama's lost to Georgia since 2021 or 2022?
It's 5 out of 6. The last 6 games, Bama's 5 out of 6, yeah.
Yeah, so prove to me you can beat Georgia before I pick before I pick Georgia to win.
Well, Alabama's got a Oklahoma problem, it seems to be. They gave the Oklahoma, so I feel you.
That is. All right, Bruce, we appreciate you joining us here, giving us a little bit of SEC homerism for the game. We are going to say, if you want to go see Bruce in concert, Vallejo is playing at Antone's January 9th. Tickets are available now, Bruce, so you can go check that out and go see your man Bruce in action, playing on the stage. Appreciate you, Bruce.
Roll Tide, baby. Roll Tide, y'all.
Have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk to you on Saturday for some SEC championship game fun. All right, brother. We got to take our second break. We got to take a break real quick. Come back, talk about the Cowboys for like 3 minutes, hit our meathead, and get out of here on a Thursday afternoon. But that was some good stuff from my man, Bama Bruce Castleberry. Always appreciate him coming on the show. We'll be back in 2.5 minutes to continue on and wrap up the show here on a Thursday afternoon.
Hi, I'm Dan Covert with my wife, Hayden. Welcome to Covert BK.
Our newest location in the gorgeous Hill Country includes Buick, GMC, Cadillac, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram, and hundreds of pre-owned and certified vehicles for you to choose from. We have 3 service departments that are ready to take care of your car, truck, or SUV with 86 service bays to accommodate any repair and get you in and out quickly. Come visit us today to select the vehicle you've been dreaming about.
Covert, born and raised in Austin.
Hi, this is Tom McKay, owner of Audiovisual Consultations, and we'd like to take a moment to thank all of our clients for making the last 37 years both fun and fruitful. If you haven't yet, I'd like to invite you to give us a try for all your home electronics needs. There's no need to leave your home to find great pricing and incomparable service. No traffic, inexperienced sales geeks, or pushy showroom tactics. We come to you. So just relax, hug your kids, and smile. We handle all the work. Just give us a call at 255-8678 or online at avconsultations.com.
Say hello to Jason and the gang over at Relax the Back. They embrace a holistic approach for a healthier lifestyle based on 35 years, folks, of proven expertise, and my back couldn't be happier. Their motto is live wellness, and folks, they can transform your routine, your daily routine, into something very, very special if you have back pain. If you're struggling with thoracic problems, if you've got hip problems, if you've got lumbar problems, please go over to one of their stores. They got 2 great locations, and find out a chair or a recliner or a sofa that's going to fit you and going to make your life a whole lot better. I've got this office chair right here that I've been sitting in for years, and I love it. 2 locations, folks, at the Hill Country Gallery across from Whole Foods, and in North Austin at the Gateway Shopping Center across from the Container Store. Live pain-free like the Buck and relax the back.
SendTexTickets.com. If you're in the market for tickets to any sporting event, any concert, any Broadway show, anything live coming to town, you got to head over to SendTexTickets.com. The best seats to all of the biggest events, not just here in Austin, but all over the state and all over the country as well. It's so easy to use. Just log on your phone or computer to SendTexTickets.com. All of their tickets are 100% guaranteed, and they will be delivered right to your phone or computer. So simple to use, and you're also helping to support a local business every time you shop. SendTexTickets.com. So if you want to be at the biggest events in sports and entertainment, there's only one place to go. It's SendTexTickets.com.
Welcome back into Open Gym here on Texas Sports Unfiltered. Myself and Patrick Davis alongside Matt Galatzan, wrapping it up here on a Thursday afternoon. Big game tonight, Matt. Big game for the Cowboys. They can improve to 7-5-1. They could really hurt the Lions, who will be 7-6 in this game. It is in Detroit. Detroit's a 3.5-point favorite. How are you feeling about this game that is in about an hour and 15 minutes, hour and 20 minutes?
As a perpetually disappointed and damaged Cowboys fan, I don't feel very good. I think Jahmyr Gibbs is probably going to run all over him, and I think Amon-Ra St. Brown being active is not good. So I think that the Lions are probably going to win. That said, it's Thursday. This game could get drunk. The Cowboys have played well on Thursday this year. I'm never going to hope for the Cowboys.
You're not going to let him pull on your heart anymore. You're taking just all emotion out of it. Expectations versus reality. If you think they lose every time, you can only ever be excited. You can only ever be happy after a win. You can never be disappointed after a loss. So yeah, I think the Cowboys do have a shot because they've been playing much better. The fact that it's at Detroit, if it was in Dallas, it might pick different. Because I think Detroit doesn't play as well on the road this season. I think they've had some problems, but yeah, you're going to have to be able to slow down Jahmyr Gibbs, and I don't know if you're going to be able to do that.
I hope, honestly, for my playoff fate in my fantasy football league, I hope Jahmyr Gibbs scores 70 points in fantasy. Make this a 50-49 game.
Oh man! All right, time for our meathead of the day, and I know this is a day or so news, but I'm just giving it to Vanderbilt as a whole. We know that Clark Lee was saying he wanted to play an extra game, which we know can't really happen. Like, that was not going to happen in 1 week. And then Diego Pavia tweeting at the president, make the executive order, please. And the only thing he got right about this is who he quote tweeted, though.
Yeah, good engagement there for my boy Brooks. Diego Pavia is such a turd, man.
This whole Vanderbilt thing, and look, I'll give them credit. They're not saying they should be in. They're saying there needs to be 16 teams. They're like, we can't really make the argument that we can jump all of these teams and get there. And we feel like we think we're a good enough team to play in the playoffs, but we're not really. The resume doesn't speak well enough to jump everybody and get in. So can we make it 16 games?
I really don't want it to move to 16. I really, really don't. But I think that it's inevitable that that's going to happen. So, whatever.
So when this offseason they move it to 16 teams, does Diego Pavia put in a waiver and sue so he can play into a 16-team playoff?
He's going to do that anyway.
It is nuts. I just love that Vanderbilt is pretending that things can happen that can't. Like, we're saying there's a 2% chance. The realism is, 98 to 99% chance Texas doesn't really have a shot in. There's a weird off-the-ball chance that somehow in the committee over the week, someone's mind changes and they change up their rankings on the last one. But that's it. It has to be that weird, crazy out there that you need all the games to happen right that didn't happen right 2 weeks ago, and that probably will not happen right this time. And you need the committee to change their mind. But the reality is none of that's really going to happen. So you just have to be able to live with it. But to walk out and go, hey, could you change a playoff format that took us 2 months of negotiations to get to in the next week? Could we also can we schedule a game in a week? No. How do you not know how any of this works? For a really good football team, you seem like you don't know how any of this works.
Well, it's Vanderbilt. They don't know what it means to be good at football, so they don't understand the rules.
That is
It's
true.
like Baylor,
Well, Baylor just doesn't care about the rules. We know that.
Yeah, except Baylor, is just a poorly run program by bad people.
There you go. All right, we got to get out of here. We'll be back tomorrow to have a big Friday show. Appreciate everybody hanging with us. Until then, be kind, be safe, keep your underwear clean. We'll see you right back here tomorrow for more from Open Gym.